Chapter 435. Hearing that, the sisters did not have any complaints and slowly closed their beautiful eyes. At least, this is better than being a slave by Lucifer's side. However, after waiting for a long time and seeing that there was no movement, they opened their beautiful eyes and took a look. There is no one in front of me. Big sister, did we become ugly? No one actually wants us anymore? Celine was very disappointed. It wasn't easy for me to meet someone that I like, but in the end, that person doesn't like me. As the big sister, Celine was much calmer. Little sister, such a strong man would naturally understand humility. Is that so? I feel that he cares about our status. Hearing what the little sister said, the big sister was already disappointed. LV Shu, who returned to the bar, let out a sigh of relief. You guys want to suck me? How can that be? Big brother, where did you go? Yi Hong was currently packing up the chairs and preparing to get off work. LV Shu smiled. I went to save a single girl. Tang Wei teased. Then why didn't you bring her back? It's a long story. Zishan wiped the table and said, LV Shu, you are Yi Hong's big brother, it is time to look for you. That's right, big brother, without sister-in-law to take care of you, I am also deeply worried. Scram. The big brother raised his hand and slapped. You are actually teasing your big brother now. Wei Chang smiled. Let me tell you guys something little. His honor's birthday is going to be celebrated soon, prepare a present. Everyone nodded their heads and began planning what to give his honor. His honor is so rich, he definitely won't like these vulgar things. We just have to prepare some exquisite small gifts, for example dolls, toys. Don't all children like those? Do we even need to use money? Give treasures? Is his honor such a vulgar person? Giving these things is completely looking down on his honor. After cleaning up the bar, the few walked out and coincidentally bumped into Celine and Celine, who were standing at the entrance. Looking at their posture, it seems like they have been waiting for a long time. LV Shu's expression collapsed. What are you guys doing? Could it be that I am the only man in the world? Women are very peculiar creatures. When they entrust their feelings to you, they will not look back. What are you guys looking for? Tang Wei asked curiously. The two sisters pointed at LV Shu at the same time, causing everyone to be startled. Yi Hong patted on her big brother's shoulder. Big brother, they are pretty good, let's take a look around first. After he finished speaking, he left with his wife Zishan. Don't be a third wheel. Tang Wei also held onto Wei Chang's arm and sat on the Qian to return home. LV Liang looked at the two vampires in front of her and said in a deep voice, What exactly do you see in me? I should know, okay? Serene pursed her lips, lowered her head and said, You're so flirtatious. Puff. This was really hard to change, revealing the truth with a single sentence. To be honest, if you were humans, I would definitely be friends with you. But you are blood breeds. I feel really uncomfortable. LV Liang told the truth. Serena said softly, LV Liang, actually, our bodies are the same as human girls' bodies. We can also give birth. As long as human girls can do it, we can do it too. Really? Don't lie to me. I'm a man who has been lied to before. I'm always vigilant. I don't believe it. Serene walked over and said in a sweet voice, Then touch it and you'll know. Not only did they throw money at him, but they also seduced him. They definitely wanted to suck him in. How could he make the same mistake twice? I'm a good person. LV Liang said in a deep voice. The two sisters nodded their heads, expressing that they understood. Why can't you guys tell that I'm rejecting you guys? I'm just being a bit more amiable, I don't want to hurt you guys. LV Liang, are you hungry? We have delicious supper and a lot of wine over there. You can eat whatever you want. Serene went up and held onto LV Liang's arm. Right now, LV Liang was feeling the majestic and grand feeling. His arm actually sunk in, it could be seen how deep the feeling was. I'll get someone to arrange it. The big sister, Serena, was a bit more reserved. These two women failed to seduce me and they actually used delicacies to tempt me. Even if my big brother Green starves to death, I still won't go to that kind of place to eat. Do you have crayfish? Serena was delighted, and we have a lot. Let's eat some then. LV Liang said reluctantly. Inside the 7 bar there was a bedroom and the two sisters usually stayed here. LV Liang, you are the first man to enter our room. Serene said bashfully. Compared to her big sister, she was a lot more straightforward. Looking at the pink world in front of him, it really doesn't match with him being green at all. Actually, we can just go outside to eat, we are afraid of dirtying your room. LV Liang said embarrassedly. How good would it be if these two were ordinary girls? Serena said tenderly, we are afraid of disturbing you if we go outside. Not only is she using delicacies to tempt me, she is also using sweetness to attack me. If it was an underling he would definitely fall for her. But I am Big Brother Green. A man who was cuckolded before. I am the man that you guys will never be able to get. Open your mouth. Serena could be seen peeling a crayfish and placing it beside LV Liang's mouth. LV Liang opened his mouth and ate the crayfish. Feels so fragrant. LV Liang, stay behind tonight, big sister, and I will serve you well. Serena said coquettishly, and she even intentionally blew towards LV Liang's neck. However, this action made LV Liang feel that they want to suck me tonight. And even looking at the artery on my neck, they definitely want to bite me in that moment of excitement. And then fiercely suck me. Until I die. Dong dong dong. Come in, Serena said faintly. When the foreigner saw that the princess was actually intimately leaning onto a man's body, he was a bit surprised. However, he still said, Your Highness, a person who calls himself Jiu Yi wants to meet you, not meeting. Serena said coldly. Can't you see that I am accompanying my sweetheart? Yes. Wait, see. Why is he not meeting? LV Liang heard Uncle Wei talk about this Jiu Yi before, and he really wanted to know what Jiu Yi was doing here. The foreigner was puzzled for a moment, not knowing who he should listen to. Serena said faintly, Didn't you hear? See. Yes. Your Highness. LV Liang stood up and said, You two meet, I will eavesdrop. The two sisters knew what Yi Liang meant and nodded their heads. LV Liang didn't hide and directly jumped onto the big bed of the two sisters, covered himself with the blanket and pretended to sleep. It's been a long time since I've smelled a woman's fragrance like this in my life. Jiu Yi walked in with a smile on his face. Just like before, he was cunning. Your Highness. Jiu Yi said respectfully with Western etiquette. The two sisters were a bit shocked. This Jiu Yi actually knew of their identity. Jiu Yi secretly took a glance at the pink big bed, and there was actually a man on the pink big bed. Rather than being snatched away by someone else, she might as well give it to the person she liked. At least she wouldn't regret it. *CK who begs people like you guys. I'm really drunk. Putting away her frivolous expression, LV Liang said seriously, It's your own blood, keep it safe. But don't worry, I will protect you. The two sisters were stunned. Protection? Ever since the blood tribe was hunted down, only the two of them were left and they had no protection at all. They lived in fear every day, but today they were actually saved by a man who wanted to offer the purest blood to him. Not only did he not want it, he even said that he wanted to protect himself. God, there is actually such a good man in this world. Fortunately, I met him. I'm so lucky. The two sisters lightly leaned on LV Liang's side. Serena said tenderly, LV Liang, if you want it, we can give it to you anytime. My God, as long as you two don't suck my blood, I can do anything. Why are you two grabbing onto my hands? I am not such a shallow man. Wow, my skin is so smooth. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I'll be leaving first, see you tomorrow. After finished speaking, LV Liang disappeared from the bed. The two sisters laughed because LV Liang said that he would see you tomorrow. This is a man with a sense of justice, and for him to still be able to hold on even when we are tempting him like this, it can be seen that he is not a fickle man. Meanwhile, at the bedroom on the second floor of Leisure Bar, the battlefield that was filled with smoke had just calmed down. Yi Hua lightly caressed his wife's body. He was very engrossed in the feeling. It was as if he was poisoned. However, this caused Donghuang Baiji to feel extremely bitter. Ali's birthday is coming up. Yi Hua said lightly. Donghuang Baiji let out a heavy nasal sound. I should be able to receive a large amount of money as a gift. Yi Hua smiled. Those subordinates of mine will definitely give me something of great value. Donghuang Baiji once again let out a nasal sound. It wasn't that she didn't want to speak, it was just that she truly didn't have any strength left. It was as if her soul had already floated away. Yi Hua said faintly, Your Majesty, looking at your expression, it seems like you are not satisfied with me. If that's the case, I will let you be satisfied again. No, before Empress Baiji could stop him, this shameless guy had already started another round of conquest. Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi, who were at the side, had already gone to the office to sleep. The morning sunlight shone through the window, and Yi Hua opened his eyes. Lowering his head, he looked at the beautiful woman who was in his embrace with a pitiful look on her face. If he had used this method earlier, such a mess wouldn't have happened. Don't, the sleeping empress shouted out sweetly, almost causing Yi Hua to become impulsive again. However, the sleeping Donghuang Baiji is so alluring. Just by looking at her, I can't help but want to make a move on her. I'll let her off today. It's been hard on her these past 2 days. After covering himself with the blanket, Yihua got up and took a bath, then went out of the house to buy breakfast for his wife. As long as you follow this sovereign's will, this sovereign will pamper you to the heavens. Just when Yihua stepped out of leisure bar, he received Wei Chang's contact. Your Honor, subordinate has something to report to you. Speak. Last night, LV Liang received 2 pieces of valuable information. The first piece of information is that the self-proclaimed demon king in Europe, Lucifer, wants to capture the Sisters of Seven Bar for their purest blood. The second piece of information is that Lord Jiao has a master behind him, and he wants to have a meal with the sisters by exchanging a part of a primeval godly item. Yihua responded. These are all small matters. Buying breakfast for Baiji is a big matter. Am I being too biased recently? I should go and comfort Qinya properly in a few days' time to prevent her from complaining. After all, I have to share the reign and do equally. Your Honor? What do you think we should do about this matter? Wei Chang asked. There is no need to ask me about this kind of small matter. After finished speaking, Wei Chang cut off the contact. Meanwhile, Wei Chang passed on His Honor's latest command to LV Liang. His Honor said, do as you see fit. After LV Liang received His Honor's command, LV Liang immediately felt pressured. This time, I have to perform well and hope to receive His Honor's praise. Chapter 437. Yihua arrived at the entrance of the alley and saw that the auntie was currently making Chinese jianbing. Should I go and show off in front of the auntie? These few days when I came over to buy Chinese crepes, I was ridiculed by this auntie to the point that I couldn't take it anymore. In the entire world, I, the supreme overlord, admire this auntie. 4 pancakes with eggs and ham sausages. The middle-aged woman looked back and smiled. Handsome, you look good today. Is your wife back? How would they dare to disobey me? I'll teach them a lesson anytime. As a supreme overlord, he is actually showing off in front of an auntie. Sigh. The aunt smiled but did not say anything. This caused Yihua to feel very unhappy. Aren't you very talkative? Don't look down on women. They spoil you because they love you. Spoil me? He chuckled. You are wrong, I am the one who is spoiling them. Yihua said in disdain. The auntie smiled once again and did not say anything. This caused Yihua to be very speechless. This auntie is truly awesome, to actually be acting so mysterious in front of me. A moment later, the middle-aged woman handed over 4 pancakes. Are you still going to owe me for today? Yihua. This sentence almost caused Yihua to bleed. A formidable enemy isn't those people who possess absolute strength, but this aunt who is selling Chinese jianbing fruit pancakes in front of me. Do you think that I won't return what I owe you? Yihua said gravely, then turned around and walked towards leisure bar. But listening to this auntie's nagging feels pretty good. Are they spoiling me? He took out a jianbing and took a bite. It was especially fragrant today. In actuality, what the auntie said was very reasonable. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were indeed spoiling Yihua. Take Donghuang Baiji for example. For the past 2 days, Donghuang Baiji had not even gotten out of the bed and was doing her best to satisfy Yihua's needs. He took 2 pancakes and gave them to his sister-in-law and Yi Zizi. Today was the weekend, so Yi Zizi was off. Walking into the bedroom and looking at the Empress's spotlessly white shoulders that were exposed to the air, Yihua's lower abdomen once again emitted a ball of raging fire. Why is this Donghuang Baiji so captivated by me? Holding onto the crepe, Yihua brought it to Donghuang Baiji's mouth. Right now, the cold and arrogant Empress was extremely adorable. If not for Donghuang Baiji's tired state, Yihua would have definitely pounced onto the Empress and enjoyed her body. The Empress opened her beautiful eyes slightly, and looked at her husband, who was very close to her. A gentle smile appeared on her face and she said, Is it the fruit jianbing from the alley? Yes. Hang, when the Empress started acting coquettishly, even Yihua was a bit unable to endure it. Sitting on the side of the bed, Yihua said faintly, Do you know how enchanting you look like right now? Seeing the eager look in her husband's eyes, the Empress instantly shrank back and said, Let me rest for a day, okay? I originally wanted to let you rest for 2 days. I didn't expect that your majesty would only need 1 day. It can be seen that you are very dissatisfied with your husband. Annoying, Donghuang Baiji smacked onto Yihua petulantly. That bashful look of hers was truly indescribable with words. For this woman to actually be this beautiful, I really have to sigh in admiration. After eating the love-filled Chinese jianbing that her husband bought for her, Donghuang Baiji rubbed onto her tummy. Yihua, do you think that I am already pregnant? If we put in a bit more effort, we should be able to. Yihua, you have changed. Yihua laughed lightly, have I become bigger? Dong Huang Baiji was very speechless, then said tenderly, my face changed. If I have such a wife and my face still doesn't change, it would really be a waste of a heavenly gift. You have also become a flirtatious person. Dong Huang Baiji added another sentence. Although her husband has changed, he has become even more perfect. That kind of ice-cold Yihua is not what I want. Yihua smiled. Indeed, after meeting them I have changed a lot. Let's hope that this is a good start. Where is Ali's birthday? Dong Huang Baiji leaned onto her husband's arm and asked. Yihua lightly caressed onto Dong Huang Baiji's soft body and said faintly, our family's birthday. There was nothing more important than being together as a family. This was something that Yihua had learned. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly sealed onto Yihua's lips and said with a gentle gaze, Yihua, love me properly. Baiji, you are truly getting more and more daring. Yihua laughed lightly. He decided to properly dote on the Empress. To actually dare to openly provoke me. Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi, who were in the room beside Yihua, were wearing earphones to block out the noise. At night, Yihua walked out of the bedroom and stretched his body. This feels great. Coming to the office, Yihua took out a stick of cigarette. Where should I bring my daughter to have fun on her birthday? Go abroad to have fun? That doesn't seem interesting. Go to another planet to have fun? Admire the beauty of a foreign country? This idea is not bad. Daddy, Yihua, who was currently thinking, didn't notice that Qingya and Dong Huangli had appeared. Yihua turned around and carried his daughter into his embrace, then fiercely kissed onto her chubby face. The latter also gave her father a big kiss. Daddy, Ali misses you so much. Dong Huangli held onto her father's chest and said sweetly. Daddy misses Ali too. Lightly caressing onto his daughter's hair, Yihua felt that his life right now was perfect. My wife, my child, and my subordinates, I didn't die in vain. After the father and daughter pair cuddled together for a while, Yihua said with a smile, Ali, quickly go and take a look at Mommy and accompany Mommy to sleep. And then Ali won't disturb Daddy and Mommy Qing anymore. The little fellow was rather sensible and immediately ran out of the office. Only Yihua and Qingya were left in the office. Looking at Qingya's bulging stomach, Yihua stretched out his hand and lightly caressed onto Qingya's stomach, then said in a low voice, Qingya, thank you. Hearing her husband's heartfelt words, Qingya's beautiful eyes immediately turned red as she said with a smile, we are already husband and wife, there is no need to thank me. Do you still hate me? Lightly hugging onto Qingya, Yihua asked faintly. Qingya hugged onto her husband's strong body and said tenderly, Yihua, I want to apologize to you. This foolish woman, is she trying to move me to death? Seems like I have no choice but to properly dote on you tonight. Forget it, it is all in the past. Yihua said lightly. Qingya muttered, Yihua, you have your own standpoint, I have my own way of thinking. However, I have forgotten that you are my husband, I should support you unconditionally, and not help others to criticize you. Qingya's eyes lit up. Yihua was a bit surprised. I didn't expect that Qingya would have such a realization. This is a good thing, a happy thing. Since you have given me a way out of this embarrassing situation, I have to coax you and not let you suffer any grievances. I am also at fault, I shouldn't have shouted at you like that, especially when you are pregnant. Hearing what her husband said, Qingya was moved, and tears immediately flowed out of her eyes. When she was pregnant, her husband wasn't by her side, and Qingya could be said to have experienced it. I really don't know how Dong Huang Baiji managed to endure it back then. Chapter 438. Yihua carried Qingya up. Such an enchanting wife, how can I leave her alone? Ah, Yihua, what are you doing? Qingya cried out in surprise and her face immediately turned red. Yihua said indifferently, tonight you don't have any more excuses, right? Qingya knew that this would happen. I can still find an excuse for my early pregnancy, but now that it is over, this fellow will definitely not be able to hold himself back anymore. Wait a minute, I want to ask you a question, answer me honestly, if not, Yihua carefully pressed his wife down onto his body and lightly moved aside her hair. These two women's beauty is completely different. Qingya belongs to the delicate type, while Dong Huang Baiji's expression carries a faint sense of arrogance. This is a kind of visual enjoyment. If not, what will you do? Yihua asked indifferently. If not, I will ignore you. Qingya said with a red face. Just that, this kind of threat had a more coquettish feel to it. Go ahead and ask. Is Zhu Tian one of your people? This question is very thorny, should I admit it or not? However, looking at Qingya's appearance, she should have guessed it, just that she didn't have any evidence. However, now that we have reconciled, it doesn't matter if I say it out, we are all family. Yi Hua nodded his head. Actually, before Qinya could finish speaking, Yi Hua already kissed her. The latter struggled for a bit, then became obedient. Little fellow, I can't deal with you, just immerse yourself in my kiss. Looking at his wife's beautiful face, Yi Hua said indifferently, there are a lot of ugly things in the world. In actuality, I don't want you two to see them, just like Dongfang Yuer whom Zhu Tian met. Her family was framed and destroyed, and I only asked my subordinates to help the weak and let the wrong souls rest in peace. There is really nothing wrong with what he said. Right now, he doesn't even blink when speaking lies. However, what he said seems to be the truth. I only hope that you two can enjoy the happiness in this world, and leave the dirty work to me. Qinya didn't expect that Yi Hua would think like this, and she was very touched. She felt ashamed for her actions. Yi Hua, so it was my ignorance, okay? Qinya felt that if Yi Hua didn't forgive her, she wouldn't be able to feel at ease for the rest of her life. The husband only wanted to give me a good environment, and yet, I didn't understand what he meant. As a wife, this was a very foolish behavior. Alright, I forgive you. Thank you, Yi Hua. A trace of an evil smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. I prefer that you use your body to thank me. Then can you be gentler, don't be like last time. Upon thinking about that night, Qinya's face became scarlet red. That night was truly an unforgettable night. Of course, Yi Hua wouldn't act recklessly. However, there was no need for Yi Hua to worry about the child. My bloodline is very tough, and no matter what I do to the child, nothing bad will happen to the child. However, he also had to take care of his wife's feelings. Alright, I promise you. Hearing what her husband said, Qinya's face became red, and she slowly closed her beautiful eyes. Looking at Qinya's appearance, Yi Hua couldn't help but want to take back the words that he had said just now. This is simply waiting for me to pamper her. He gently took off his wife's clothes and gently caressed her. A beautiful melody came out from Qinya's vocal cords. This was simply the most beautiful sound in the world. After one round, Qinya's face was completely red as she laid on her husband's chest. Feels so comfortable. I will let you off today after you give birth to the child. Qinya sweetly rolled her eyes at her husband, however, she still said, got it. As expected of my woman, she is becoming more and more sensible. Where are we going to celebrate Ali's birthday? Qinya asked curiously. Yi Hua thought for a while, then said faintly, to be honest, our family of four has never seriously gone out to play before. How about we use Ali's birthday this time to go out and relax ourselves? Qinya felt that her husband's suggestion was pretty good and said tenderly, then, where are we going to relax ourselves? I haven't thought about it yet, but it is definitely going to be a place that is different from the masses. And we will listen to your arrangements then. Qinya said tenderly. That's right, the aunt at the alley entrance owes you 200 plus RMB, you can go and pay her back tomorrow morning. After hearing what Yi Hua said, Qinya was speechless. Without me by your side, your life sure is poor and dejected. If you don't have money, tell me. Yi Hua said in disdain, do I look like the kind of man who asks for money from a woman? Alright, you are the most formidable. In actuality, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were the women who doted on their husband the most. Yi Hua felt that after this time, the two of them wouldn't dare to mess around anymore. Because, no matter how bad the things that I, the Supreme Overlord, did, it was all because of you two. You two are the real culprits, and I, the Supreme Overlord at most, can only be considered as an accomplice. Qinya. Let's do it one more time. Don't be obedient, nothing will happen. You go and look for Baiji. She is already at her limit. Then this will be the last time. Alright, this will be the last time tonight. Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi felt that it is about time for us to move out of the house, or to make a layer of super soundproofing. October 16th was little Ali's birthday. Today the little fellow was dressed up like a little princess and she was very happy. On this night, leisure bar was closed. It seems like there weren't any customers that came. Yi Hua's subordinates were all present to celebrate the little overlord's birthday. Just how big of a scene was this? Dong Huangli was about to be praised to the heavens by everyone, and the smile on her face had never stopped. Right now, Yi Hua came to the office and opened the gifts that his subordinates gave him. However, when he looked at the gifts that his subordinates gave him, he was simply too stingy. Wei Chang sent over a giant panda. If it was a real giant panda, then it would be fine, but this was a furry toy. Lai Gu sent over a set of dolls, the kind that can wear clothes. Does my child still want to play with such childish things? Absolute Heaven received quite a lot of benefits this time, and he actually sent over a learning machine. Yi Zizi's gift was even simpler. The princess dress that Ali was currently wearing was bought by her. However, when Yi Hua heard that the princess dress was bought by Yi Zizi through scrimping, Yi Hua felt rather gratified. There are even toy guns and remote-controlled cars. How can a girl play with such things? To think that you all can even think of such things. Not a single one of them gave me money. If I were to go and host a banquet, I would definitely make a huge loss. What happened to the treasures that you all agreed on? Do you all really need me to speak for you all to understand? In the future, if you all were to give birth to a child and celebrate your birthday, I would immediately come over and not give you anything. You all are too stingy. Downstairs. Lai Gu said with a smile. His honor will definitely like this time. In the past, I always gave you some treasures, and I reckon that his honor is already annoyed by it. That's right, the gifts that I gave you this time are my sincerity. His honor should definitely be very happy. Wei Chang said with a smile. Meanwhile, Absolute Heaven walked to the front of the two madams and said respectfully, Lady Boss, please forgive me for what happened that day. Chapter 439. Dong Huang Baiji had also thought about it. If it was really her father who judged the case wrongly as his daughter, she would definitely wash away the injustice done to the Dongfang family. Those who were involved in the case would definitely not be let off easily. Zhu Tianyu is also my junior sister. Treat her well, Qinya said with a slight smile as she looked at Dongfang Yu who was bashful after hearing Zhu Tian's words. Zhu Tian replied respectfully, Lady Boss, rest assured. This subordinate will definitely take good care of you and Yen Xen. On the other hand, Dongfang Yuan and Guan Yanxin who were standing behind Zhu Tian had their heads lowered. The so-called care that Professor Zhu Tian gave them was simply unimaginable. That's good then, Qinya said with a gentle smile. Qinya had the aura of a respected madam. Dong Huang Baiji who was at the side was the same as well. All of the subordinates felt that this was the attitude that his honor's wife should have, and this was the attitude that his honor's wife should have. Wei Chang, look at that Dongfang Yu. Lai Gu walked to Wei Chang's side and said in a low voice. Wei Chang said, Zhu Tian's luck with women isn't bad. In the past he said that he wasn't interested in women, but now he brought two. There is no such thing as a cat that steals fish in this world. As long as you experience the beauty of a woman, you will be unable to extricate yourself. Wei Chang fell into deep thought after hearing this. He looked at the alluring Tang Bingyao at the side. When would he be able to push her down? It felt like it would take forever. As a single dog, LV Shu stood at the side with a glass of wine in her hand and sighed. Everyone has a wife, either one or two, and the one who has the most is Lai Gu. He has 3 superstar wives. I am so envious of them. Furthermore, that Dongfang Yu is really good. I don't even know what to say about this kind of feeling. Big Boss Absolute Heaven is really lucky. He was extremely unlucky to be targeted by 2 vampires who wanted to suck his blood all the time. It was really annoying. Yi Hua, who was upstairs, lit up a stick of cigarette, then lightly flicked it. A 3-dimensional version of the galaxy appeared in front of Yi Hua. Following the movements of Yi Hua's hands, the galaxy rotated, enlarged, or shrunk. The entire Milky Way galaxy had about 150 to 400 billion stars, and the solar system was just one of the insignificant galaxies. There were more developed galaxies like the planet that he used to be on. That was the strongest overall and had a very strong fantasy color. But this time he was accompanying his wife and daughter on a trip. Of course he wouldn't choose to stay there. In any case he would go back to take revenge sooner or later. After all, there were only 100 Supremes in the entire galaxy. They would all be wiped out sooner or later. Yi Hua opened up one galaxy after another and searched for his target. Retro Wuxia? Although the environment in Voidless Realm was pretty good, Voidless Realm's environment was more or less the same. Baiji and Ali were already familiar with each other. Xinxia World? It seems to be about the same as Voidless Realm. Apocalypse? There were disgusting monsters everywhere. How was this a vacation? It was more like looking for excitement. Yi Hua didn't know where the most technologically advanced planet in the Milky Way galaxy was located. Yi Hua directly searched for the planet, and it felt as if he was searching on Baidu. When a blue planet appeared in front of Yi Hua's eyes, Yi Hua felt that it was a bit interesting. Outside of the planet there was a huge battleship, while inside the planet, there was a high-tech building that reached the sky, and all of the vehicles were floating in the air. Oh, as expected of the most advanced civilized world, combining technology and martial arts together. Interesting. Qinya and the others had definitely never seen such a world before, and it was also the first time that Yi Hua and the others had seen such a world before. Yi Hua and the others were curious, and thus Yi Hua and the others decided to bring Qingya and the others to see the world. This is it. Blue blaze dong dong dong. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen leisurely walking into the room, then said lightly, Yi Hua, it's almost 12, quickly come down and celebrate your daughter's birthday. Yi Hua stood up, then hugged onto his wife and kissed her. Don't mess around, everyone is waiting downstairs. Dong Huang Baiji, who was mesmerized by her husband's kiss, hurriedly stopped him. While hugging onto that willowy waist that everyone was envious of, Yi Hua said faintly, tomorrow our whole family will go out to play. Word? It's a secret. Yi Hua smiled mysteriously. Dong Huang Baiji's curiosity was piqued. When he arrived downstairs, he saw a huge cake being pushed out from the side. There were 4 little people on it. It represents his honor's family. Very cute. However, when a group of death gods sang a happy birthday song, it was rather comical. The little princess Dong Huangli, who was wearing a birthday hat, placed her hands together and made a wish, hoping that Daddy, Mommy, and Ali would be together forever. Oh. He blew out the candle. Lai Gu and Zhu Tian both pulled the kaleidoscope, and the atmosphere was very joyous. Yi Hua felt very comfortable just by looking at this scene. Where are the other 3 fellows? Still not coming back to the team yet? Do you need me to go and look for them one by one? At this moment, Yi Hua called Wei Chang and Zhu Tian to the side. I, the Supreme Overlord, will be going out for a few days. The 2 of you will deal with the matters here. If it isn't a big matter, don't contact me. Zhu Tian nodded his head, then asked respectfully, how many days will your honor be going out for? If it's quick, 1 week. If it's slow, 1 month. Subordinate obeys. The 2 replied in unison. Everyone celebrated until 2 a.m., and only then did they return back to their own homes and look for their mothers. The birthday girl had long fallen asleep in her mother's embrace, and Dong Huang Baiji immediately brought her daughter to sleep, not giving Yi Hua any chance. Meanwhile, Yi Hua could only grab onto Qingya, and Qingya was also begging him in every possible way. For the past few days, Qingya had been pestering him every single night. Although Qingya was very happy that her husband was so infatuated with her, but Qingya really didn't know what to say. Qingya just wanted to say, back then you said that you would only touch a woman once. Look at you, who knows how many times you have touched a woman these past few days. Yi Hua said, I take back my words back then. This caused Qingya to be greatly shocked, and she shouted out that Yi Hua was shameless. And every time when Yi Hua wanted to continue, Qingya would intentionally say that her stomach was not feeling well. Yi Hua knew that Qingya was pretending, and thus he let her off. However, I still haven't had enough fun. I won't have enough fun for my entire life. The next morning, the family of 4 woke up very early. Dong Huangli was in all kinds of excitement. Daddy and Mommy brought me out to play, what a happy thing this is. Qing Yutong would rather stay at home than go out and take a walk. Of course, when her brother-in-law went to act cool, she would shout out from the side. What are you 2 doing? Yi Hua asked puzzledly. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji could be seen packing their clothes, and little Ali also made a small suitcase and stuffed the little doll into it. When we go out, we definitely have to bring clothes. Qingya said. Daddy, Ali will clean your clothes for you. Yi Hua said faintly, all right, don't clean your clothes, it is not that far away. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze. Dong Huang Li's face immediately became bitter. What? Didn't we agree to go out to play? Why is it not that far away again? Daddy is a liar, Dong Huang Baiji carried on to her daughter and said coquettishly, Yi Hua, how can you lie to your daughter? I have such a bad impression of you. I haven't even finished speaking, and you 2 already gave me the title of a liar. Is this really good? Ali, you have to listen to Daddy finish speaking, understand? Chapter 440. Because this time, the place that we are going to is a bit far away, and ordinary means of transportation will not be able to reach there. Yi Hua said. Hearing what her daddy said, Dong Huangli immediately became interested. You can't even go there by plane? Of course, it's at a very, very far place. While speaking, Yi Hua even gestured for a bit, causing his daughter to laugh. Not only was Dong Huangli curious, his 2 wives were also curious as well. Yi Hua, just what kind of place is this? Dong Huang Baiji couldn't help but roll her eyes at her husband. Her eyes caused Yi Hua to become a bit restless. He discovered that after being pampered by him, the 2 of them became even more charming, and every single one of their movements was emitting out a peculiar charm. If he were to bring such lovely wives out, he would definitely have a lot of face. Yi Hua smiled faintly, all of you close your eyes. Papa, does Ali also want it? Yes. Alright then. Yi Hua slowly located the position of Blue Blaze Planet. Because the distance was a bit far, he wasn't able to pinpoint the position of Blue Blaze Planet very accurately. Wow. The four of them disappeared from the bedroom. There were still unpacked clothes on the floor, giving people the feeling that they had been kidnapped. The Ashen Star was huge. It was extremely huge. How big could it be? It was as big as 10,000 Earths. As the saying goes, where there are people there will be conflicts. Moreover, this was the most developed civilization in the Milky Way galaxy. Although the entire planet was controlled by the Federation, there were many factions under the Federation fighting openly and secretly. This was a power struggle, it was unavoidable. Papa, are you done? Ali, why do I smell a strange smell? Dong Huangli asked with her big eyes closed. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji slightly frowned. Why is there a bloody smell? Meanwhile, the corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. This scenery is too beautiful, isn't it? The surroundings were filled with corpses, and the smell of blood permeated the air. The two wives immediately opened their eyes, and they were shocked by the scene in front of them. Dong Huangli also opened her eyes, but she didn't say anything, and there wasn't a trace of discomfort on her face. No matter what, she is still a child who had followed her daddy to see big scenes before, and she was completely able to adapt to this kind of scene. Yahua! Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji shouted at their husband. Our daughter is only 3 years old, and you are already bringing her to see this kind of thing. This was indeed a pleasant surprise. Yi Hua also didn't expect that he would be teleported to such a place. Wow, what a big star! Dong Huangli raised her head and shouted out. Outside the blue sky, there were 3 huge planets that looked like they could fall at any time. If one ignored the corpses on the ground, the scenery was indeed charming. Daddy, where exactly is this place? Dong Huangli asked curiously. Yi Hua let out a breath and said faintly, this is the most advanced civilized planet in the Milky Way galaxy, Blue Blaze Planet. Yi Hua looked at his wives' small mouths and gulped down a mouthful of saliva. Daddy, how far away are we from home? Dong Huangli was just like a curious baby. Around 50,000 light years. Yi Hua said faintly. Dong Huangli asked again, how far is 5 light years? Why don't you ask the mommies this question? Yi Hua looked towards his wives. The father and daughter pair looked towards Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji, and the two women immediately became confused. After waiting for a long while, Dong Huangli pouted her mouth and said, Daddy, Mommy doesn't know. It's better for Papa to tell Ali. Mama doesn't study much, so don't blame them. Yi Hua. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji said coquettishly. Who in the world would tease their wives like this in front of their children? Dong Huangli felt that what Yi Hua said was reasonable. Daddy, don't worry, Ali will study properly in the future. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji didn't want to say anything anymore. Ali, 30 billion kilometers is 0.003 light years. How far away do you think we are from home? Yi Hua said faintly. The two wives were clearly shocked. So far away. Yi Hua added, we just crossed the radius of the entire Milky Way galaxy. After finished speaking, Yi Hua put on the appearance of a big shot. Do you think that I am very powerful? Quickly come and worship me. Daddy is so powerful. Dong Huangli felt that Yi Hua was just a little fan of Yi Hua. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji smiled. They had already seen how powerful their husband was, regardless of which aspect. However, right at this moment, more than 10 black dots appeared in the sky. 10 pitch-black armored machines flew over, and the armored machines looked just like black beetles. In the blink of an eye, the armored machines surrounded Yi Hua and his family. You have been surrounded. Put down your weapons, stop resisting, raise your hands and surrender. One of the aircrafts began issuing a warning. Dong Huangli immediately raised both of her hands. This action of hers is just too cute. Yi Hua, I don't even know what to say to you anymore. Qingya smiled bitterly. You said that you came out for a vacation, but right after you arrived, you are already surrounded. Dong Huang Baiji carried on to her daughter who had raised her hands and surrendered. Dong Huang Baiji felt a bit helpless. Wow, Daddy is so exciting, it is just like watching a Marvel movie, Ali likes it so much. Yi Hua snorted coldly, did you hear that? Your daughter likes it this way. Qingya laughed lightly, then asked curiously, then what do you plan to do? Since they disturbed our family's vacation, we naturally have to get rid of them. This is all a misunderstanding. If you were to get rid of them, we would become wanted criminals. At that time, what would be the point of playing? Qingya lightly held onto her husband's arm and said. Hearing his wife's soft voice, Yi Hua couldn't help but nod his head. Soon after he came back to his senses. Qingya is actually able to bewitch me, formidable. You have misunderstood, we are. Before Qingya could finish her words, 6 guided missiles came whistling towards Yi Hua from afar. Yi Hua felt that these were not ordinary guided missiles. Spiritual energy was contained within the guided missiles. As expected of a planet where technology and martial arts are fused together, this is a bit interesting. Boom boom boom. 6 loud explosions rang out in the sky, and the missiles turned into 6 huge fireballs that smashed onto the ground. Dong Huangli's big eyes were filled with excitement. This is what a vacation is like. Those 4 aircrafts could be seen immediately turning around and returning. Seems like we have met with people that we can't afford to offend. 2 black dots gradually appeared in the sky. Those were 2 small-sized warships. Even if they were small-sized warships, they were still as big as an aircraft carrier. The warships slowly stopped not far away from the warships, and a large amount of dust was raised. There were quite a few people that came down from the warships, and all of them were wearing the same uniform. The last one that came down from the warship was a rather handsome female military officer. Yi Hua took a glance at the female military officer. What are you looking at? What is there to look at? Dong Huang Baiji reminded her husband in a low voice, to not peek at other women. Yi Hua felt helpless. Everything about the two of us is good, but when I look at other women, I feel as if I have already used my gaze to disrespect other women. The female military officer could be seen walking towards Yi Hua along with several hundred fully armed soldiers. Soon after, the warships stopped not far away from the warships. Yi Hua was very curious. Just what are you all trying to do? Don't have any bad thoughts, if not, you all will die. Swoosh. Chapter 441. The female officer shouted, "Thank you, sir, for protecting the bodies of our soldiers." "Get up, there's no need to thank me," Yi Hua said indifferently, and he had an unfathomable look on his face. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji blushed with shame. Starting again? I have clearly just arrived here. Wow, Papa is showing off again. He's so powerful. Ali should learn more from him. The female military officer looked at Yi Hua's face, and her face slightly reddened. What a handsome man. When he looked at the women on both sides, he thought, what beautiful women. Their looks and temperament are really incomparable. Seeing the female military officer's gaze, Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji immediately became vigilant. If you are here to snatch our man, then don't blame us for being ruthless. Hello, sir. I am Shi Tingting, a member of the aristocratic party. This place is still very dangerous. Please follow me, sir. Dong Huangli said with a smile on her face. Big sister, you are a good person. Looking at Dong Huangli's adorable smile, Shi Tingting revealed a trace of a smile on her face. When the soldiers behind Dong Huangli saw that their chief officer actually smiled, all of them were very surprised. Yi Hua said faintly, all right then. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji immediately held onto Yi Hua's arm and declared their ownership to everyone. Thank you for your understanding, sir. After saying that, Shi Tingting raised her hand, and the soldiers collected all the corpses on the ground. The 2 battleships immediately retreated. Not long after they left, an even larger battleship appeared. Looking at the person who had already disappeared, a man shouted angrily, damn it, he actually ran away. A bunch of trash. This was a trap. Originally, 10 armed spaceships would have been able to take care of it. However, 4 people had suddenly appeared. That was why 6 of the spaceships had been killed. After boarding the warship, Shi Tingting arranged a first-class cabin for Yi Hua's family of 4. Every part of the cabin was filled with the feeling of technology. Qingya muttered, with this kind of technology, who knows how many years it would take for us to be able to develop it. It should be from several hundred to over 1,000 years ago. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely. I have only seen these things in movies before, this is too mystical. With a swoosh, the door immediately opened, and Shi Tingting, who had changed into a dress, could be seen appearing at the door. Don't say, her figure was quite hot. Such an action was undoubtedly provoking Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji. Sir, madam, sorry to disturb you. Shi Tingting appeared to be very polite. Towards polite people, Yi Hua wouldn't make things too difficult for him. Sitting at the bedside, Yi Hua said faintly, Pardon me for asking, but do you practice martial arts? However, in the eyes of Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji, Shi Tingting was trying to seduce their husband. In any case, other than themselves, all the other girls who were talking to their husband were all harboring evil intentions. I guess so. Ali also cultivates martial arts. Dong Huang Baiji carried her daughter into her embrace and said lightly, Alright, Ali, don't disturb Daddy and Big Sister's conversation. A trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. I often say that I'm the king of vinegar, but your Empress's vinegar is also very sour. Shi Tingting was a little embarrassed. Sir, I'm being rude. May I ask what your level is? Level? Yes, sir, you must be a traveler. Here, the levels are divided into martial disciple, martial artist, martial knight, martial master, martial king, martial emperor, martial spirit, and martial venerable. Each level has 10 grades. Shi Tingting explained. Yi Hua paused for a moment, then I shouldn't be among them. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were speechless. You actually dare to act cool in front of Big Sister, are you thinking that we are old? Qingya said with a slight smile, I'm really sorry, my husband likes to joke around a bit. In actuality he is a martial artist. Her meaning was very clear. My husband is too trash, so don't have any ideas about him. However, the truth wasn't like that. Sir, are you really a martial artist? Can you do me a favor? Shi Tingting, who was excited, immediately went forward and held onto Yi Hua's hand. The corners of Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's mouth twitched. Donghuang Li turned around and covered her face. Mommy's expression is so scary. Creak, creak, the titanium alloy armrest on the side of the bed was deformed by the two women's hands, and it was about to go berserk. Shi Tingting immediately reacted and retreated a few steps back. Madam, I'm sorry, I was too excited just now. Looking at the titanium alloy armrest that was deformed into a fried dough twist, Shi Tingting was incomparably shocked. Madam, may I ask what your level is? Martial artist. That's great. Shi Tingting seemed very excited, as if she was saved. In actuality, the three of them had long broken away from the division of levels. Even if a martial venerable came, they would be able to kill that martial venerable with a single finger. But it seems like, even a martial artist can be very popular in this place. Are there very few martial artists here? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Shi Tingting let out a breath. Madam, practicing martial arts is very hard, it also requires talent and also a lot of resources. Our Blue Blaze planet is a planet that mainly focuses on technology. With a set of top-notch armor, one would be able to defeat a martial disciple. However, if one were to become a martial artist even in the main city, one would still have a place to stand. Martial disciple? Martial artist? Your planet is so weak, is this really good? Then are there martial kings? Yi Hua asked curiously. Hearing Yi Hua mentioning about martial kings, Shi Tingting immediately panicked. Sir, martial kings are godlike existences in the entire Blue Blaze planet. There are only 3 martial kings, and they live in the Imperial City and are revered by tens of thousands of people. In actuality, every world had its own division of strength, and Blue Blaze planet was divided according to an average. If one had to compare, then the 10th rank martial artist here would probably be as strong as Xiao Yi. If not, how could martial kings be revered by tens of thousands of people? From this, it could be seen just how big the gap between the two of them was. However, the number of people who practiced martial arts in Blue Blaze planet was still very little, and this made the planet even more of a product of power struggle. However, even if this was the case, there was nothing to be afraid of, because Yi Hua knew that this planet was also controlled by a god. Even an overlord would be killed like a chicken, let alone a martial king. Just a clown, the supreme overlord would be able to take his head from 1,000 miles away. Alright, tell me what you want. Yi Hua said. Shi Tingting slightly leaned her body and immediately her white skin was revealed. Creak creak. This is the sound of a titanium alloy being twisted into a super fried dough twist. After bowing deeply, Shi Tingting said gravely, although I am from the aristocratic faction, my strength is too weak, and these 2 spaceships are the only weapons that my family has. Therefore, the aristocratic faction wanted to remove my title. When this news was leaked out, my family was attacked by the main faction and my father and brother died in battle, leaving me alone. What a pitiful big sister. Donghuang Li really wanted to go over and comfort her. Meanwhile, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt that there was a bit of a problem with the last sentence. This is a crazy hint. Selling my body to bury my father. So? Yi Hua asked faintly. Sir, I know that this matter is very difficult, but I still hope that you can make a trip with me, and after that, prove your identity as a martial artist. All the aristocratic factions wanted to have a friend like a martial artist, and this was also a measure of one's relationship network. Chapter 442. With a plop, Shi Tingting immediately knelt on the ground. Sir, if you can help my family escape this crisis, I, Shi Tingting, swear to the martial honor that I am willing to be your servant and serve you. Yi Hua looked towards his 2 wives. Right now I, the Supreme Overlord, am in hot demand. Don't you guys have any sense of crisis? Qinya and Baiji stood up and helped Shi Tingting up, and Qinya said with a smile, Miss, your words are too serious, my husband was just joking with you, we will help him. Thank you so much sir and madam. I Shi Tingting will remember your kindness. Yi Hua took a deep breath then said faintly, you can leave first. Yes sir. After Shi Tingting left, the room was filled with a sour smell. Yi Hua carried his daughter and said with a smile, Ali, what if mommy gets jealous? Kiss mama, even his daughter knew about it. Humph, who's jealous of you? Ali, don't listen to your daddy, come to mommy's embrace. Donghuang Baiji stretched out her hand and hugged onto her daughter. Yi Hua said faintly, we are here to travel and yet you guys are here to interfere in other people's dispute. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji immediately realized that what they had done just now was wrong. Weren't we just jealous? Adding on the fact that the other party is also quite pitiful, furthermore, this isn't a difficult thing to do, all I have to do is to prove my strength. In Yi Hua's opinion, a woman's hair is long but her knowledge is short. If he went to show off there would definitely be people eyeing him. Would he still be able to travel with peace of mind? However, the two women also pondered for a moment. They really didn't think about what they did just now. Yi Hua, we're sorry we didn't consider things thoroughly. The two women apologized to their husbands. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and pinched onto his wife's cheeks. You two don't be jealous and use your brains more. In actuality, when Yi Hua wasn't by their side, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were very smart. However, as long as they were together with Yi Hua, it would be as if they had someone to rely on. They wouldn't think about anything else other than accompanying their husband, taking care of him and loving him. Actually, a woman in love has a negative IQ. Mommy, you can be at ease, Daddy will definitely not leave the two of you. Donghuang Li also cheered for her mommy. The two girls giggled. They felt that they were indeed a little stingy and easily jealous. In actuality, if it was Yi Hua, he might have already made a move to exterminate them. He was not called the jealous king of the cultivation world for nothing. The warship entered a military base outside of the city, and Shi Tingting arranged a car for them. Shi Tingting brought Yi Hua's family of 4 back to the manor to have a meal, and in the afternoon, they would go to the home of martial arts. Sitting on the hover car and feeling the comfort of the seat, Yi Hua said faintly, this car is much better than the one at home. Shi Tingting, who was sitting in the front row, turned around and smiled. Sir, if you like it, I'll arrange one for you. Forget it, my world doesn't have such technology. Yi Hua didn't want to participate in this kind of world's revolution. The era had to progress slowly and being too fast wasn't a good thing. Shi Tingting seemed to understand and didn't say anything else. Wow, what's that? Papa, is that a giraffe? Right now the convoy was traveling outside the city, and in the outer city there were a lot of wild animals. This was one of the big characteristics of wild animals, and Yi Hua wanted to bring his daughter to have a look at these wild animals. A gigantic creature walked beside them. Its neck was more than 10 meters long and its body was enormous. From time to time it would let out a deep roar. Ali, that is a spirit flame, a large herbivore. Shi Tingting introduced the spirit flame carefully. Clearly, Shi Tingting was already familiar with Ali. Donghuang Li mumbled, the dragon that Daddy found is indeed formidable. Yi Hua, this is cheating me. What dragon is that? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Donghuang Li immediately reacted to what Donghuang Baiji said. Oh, the big dragon doll that Daddy bought for Ali, it's so formidable. Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly, then kissed onto her daughter's cheek, causing Ali to be extremely happy. Daddy, that blue light is so beautiful. Donghuang Li pointed towards the blue shockwave that was coming from afar. Shi Tingting's pupils gradually enlarged, then shouted out, retreat! Retreat! However, it was already too late. Boom! The blue shockwave fiercely collided onto the hover car, giving off a dazzling light. The two cars in front and behind were instantly engulfed by the shockwave. The battleship that Yi Hua saw just now could be seen slowly appearing in the sky. More than 10 figures flew over and started observing the situation. When the flames disappeared, Yi Hua's 2 hover cars were completely unscathed, not even the paint on the cars had fallen off. Shi Tingting, who was at the front, was dumbstruck. What just happened? Why didn't I die? Could it be that I received the protection of the martial king? Yi Hua turned his head around and looked towards his 2 wives. The 2 wives lowered their heads slightly. It was clear that they knew that they were in the wrong. Yi Hua opened the door and walked out of the car. Yi Hua stood in the sky, while Qinya and Donghuang Baiji followed closely behind him. Gao Yi was that flustered and exasperated man from just now. Unresigned, he actually chose to block the road and assassinate Yi Hua. Although he had violated the law, he still did it. Who are you all? Where is Shi Tingting? Gao Yi shouted out angrily towards Yi Hua. There are 10 martial disciples behind me, and their overall strength is enough to exterminate a family. Let me ask you all if you are afraid of me or not. Before Yi Hua could say anything, Shi Tingting, who was in the car, stretched out her head and shouted out, Gao Yi, what you are doing is illegal. So what? The aristocratic party has already abandoned you. Such a huge commotion, and yet they did not come out to save you. From this, it can be seen that you are already an abandoned person. Gao Yi laughed madly. Who asked you to abandon me? Gao Yi, you can kill me if you want. But they are my guests. Oomph. They are just 3 martial disciples. If I can't defeat them, I will go and eat shit. Gao Yi was completely unaware of who was standing in front of him. If one has the strength to act cool, then that is called awesome. If one doesn't have the strength to act cool, then that is called an idiot. Furthermore, this is an iron plate among iron plates. If you kick it, your body will be smashed into pieces. Snap, the sound of a finger snapping could be heard. When Gao Yi heard it, he went into a daze for a moment. Bang! His entire body immediately exploded and transformed into a mist of blood. Even the martial disciples behind him were the same. Yi Hua looked at Qingya, who was beside him, in disbelief. Good fellow. I, the supreme overlord, like women like you who kill without batting an eye. Do you think sh*t is something that you can eat whenever you want to? Qingya said coldly. I hate it the most when people scold my husband. In the past, I didn't have the strength, but now that I have the strength, I naturally have to stand up for my husband. Gao Yi's soul was crying out for injustice. When did I scold people? Can you be reasonable? Dong Huangli clapped her hands. Mommy Qing is so formidable. Ali, quickly get into the car, you are not allowed to look. Qingya instructed. Dong Huangli responded, then sat into the car. However, Dong Huangli still stretched her head out to look at the battleship. Dong Huang Baiji's current strength was different from the past. Looking at the battleship that was preparing to jump, a purple longsword materialized on Dong Huang Baiji's right hand. Swish, swish, swish. 3 purple lights flew towards the battleship. Chapter 443. Vice Captain. 5 seconds left. Don't worry about 5 seconds. Jump now. Vice Captain, that will cause damage. Just jump when I tell you to. What's with all the nonsense? With a biased sound, the entire battleship seemed to have been sucked away by space and disappeared in an instant, while 3 purple lights flew into the sky. Did not hit the target, the Empress had failed. The Empress was very angry. Yi Hua patted on Dong Huang Baiji's shoulder and secretly clenched his right hand. You want to leave? How could this be? The battleship that was in the middle of jumping was wrapped by an unknown force. The hard protective armor outside seemed to be squeezed by something and instantly deformed and caved in. Boom, boom, boom. The battleship could not withstand the pressure and exploded in the spacetime black hole. Yi Hua's hands were even more awesome than the infinity gloves. The 3 continued to board the car, and Yi Hua said faintly, "Let's go." Yes. Shi Tingting swallowed her saliva. As expected of a martial artist. Too amazing. As an ordinary person, Shi Tingting couldn't feel the fluctuations of aura at all. She thought they were all martial artists. Very soon, the floating car entered the city district. Qingya, Dong Huang Baiji, and Dong Huangli were all attracted by the city that was filled with technology. It was just like watching a sci-fi movie. There were many strange species walking on the streets, and there was actually someone who looked like an octopus. Wow, mommy, look, it's Donald Duck. Dong Huangli was very excited. This is what a vacation is like. Daddy is so formidable. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji were very happy as well, and they looked just like happy little girls. Yi Hua displayed the sitting posture of a big boss. However, his gaze was also sizing up the city in front of him. This city is indeed not bad. However, the bodies of my wives are even better. Yi Hua stealthily hugged onto Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji's willowy waist and lightly rubbed against them. The 2 wives' faces were about to bleed. This bastard is becoming more and more perverted. Sir, let's go eat first, Shi Tingting said. Yi Hua nodded his head. Indeed, I didn't eat breakfast when I went out today. The hover car flew to the tallest building in the city. When it flew to the side, a window of the building stretched out, and the hover car stopped on top of it. The 5 of them got out. Shi Tingting pressed the shell of the car, and the whole car turned into a capsule. This technique was quite awesome. Sir, are you satisfied? Shi Tingting asked carefully. Yi Hua swept his gaze across the people on this floor. What are you trash looking at? My woman is just this beautiful. If you have the guts, then go ahead and try taking liberties with her. Unfortunately, Yi Hua is going to be disappointed. There is actually not a single long out yin among these people. Boring. These people were all pointing at Shi Tingting and whispering. Shi Tingting knew what they were talking about and said in a low voice, "Sir, I'm so sorry." "Nothing, where do you want to sit?" Yi Hua said faintly. All of them were salted fishes, and at the very most, they were the kind of salted fishes that were of a higher level, and they even had some brains. "Daddy, let's sit next to the window. Ali wants to look at the scenery." Dong Huangli pulled onto the corner of her father's clothes, then pointed towards the seat that was beside the window and was currently empty. Indeed, the scenery would be pretty good. What does it matter if my daughter wants a seat? Even if my daughter wants the entire blue blaze star, this sovereign will satisfy my daughter. But if it was a son, he would fight for it with his own ability. Right now, Yi Hua also had the thought of raising a daughter from the rich and raising a son from the poor. Seems like I am also poor. In actuality, Yi Hua neglected one thing, and that's right. On Earth, my wives have plenty of money, but on Blue Blaze Star, RMB isn't useful anymore. In other words, if I have to take on the responsibility of earning money, will I, the Supreme Overlord, go and earn money? Don't think too much about it. Therefore, Yi Hua reluctantly helped Shi Tingting. In exchange, Yi Hua felt that he should let Shi Tingting pay for the expenses of this trip. "Sir, that seat won't do," Shi Tingting said anxiously. Yi Hua turned his head around and took a look at Shi Tingting, then said faintly, "At my place there is nothing that won't do." What a handsome man. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji smiled but didn't say anything. Even if they are going to travel, they still have to act cool. The five of them sat down, and Dong Huangli lied on the side of the big transparent window. While looking at the strange world in front of her, a cute smile appeared on Dong Huangli's face. "Daddy, it's so beautiful," Dong Huangli mumbled. This city was indeed out of the ordinary when matched with the three huge satellites in the sky. This was all artificially adjusted beauty, and it had the most scientific basis. All of the plants and the layout of the buildings in the city were all a kind of aesthetic. Suddenly, a man who was holding onto a stack of paper, with a humble smile on his face, began handing out leaflets. Very quickly, the leaflet arrived at Yi Hua's table. The man took out a piece of paper and placed it on the table, then said with a smile, "Space Administration, 5 social insurance and 1 housing fund, with double holidays and annual leave, please understand it." Right after the man finished speaking, 3 to 4 soldiers who were wearing high-tech armor walked over, grabbed onto the man, then took off the man's clothes and left. Yi Hua picked up the leaflet and took a look. The nature of the job is rather interesting. Apprehend space-time criminals. The nature of the job in this space administration is pretty good. Why is there a need to employ this kind of method to recruit people? Yi Hua asked curiously. Shi Tingting said respectfully, "Sir, there is something you don't know, but the job in the space administration is very dangerous. Furthermore, I have to go on a business trip all year round, and it is hard to say if I will be able to come back alive. Adding on the fact that the treatment is bad and the pension is low, I might as well stay on this planet and be a policeman." Qingya asked curiously, "Why not increase the treatment?" The space administration is sent by the royal family, most of the profits from the space administration are taken away by the royal family, and the remaining profits are insignificant. Yi Hua paused for a moment then asked, "You are from the aristocratic faction and right now there is still the royal family faction. What other factions are there?" "Sir, there is still the bishop faction. The one who attacked us today is the bishop faction, and they are in the imperial city. Every single faction has a martial king overseeing it, and their strength is very terrifying." Yi Hua let out an "oh," expressing his fear. "Sir, I am really sorry because of my matter, you all offended the bishop faction, and I am going to be kicked out of the aristocratic faction. I have disturbed Sir's travel plans." Shi Tingting expressed her apology for bringing trouble to Yi Hua and his family. Dong Huangli stood on the sofa and said with a smile, "Big sister Shi, you don't have to worry, Daddy is very formidable." Shi Tingting laughed. Martial artists are indeed very formidable, but that is only in this kind of small city. If one were to go to the imperial city, martial artists are nothing much. "Yo, let me see who it is." "So it is Shi Tingting. Don't you know that this seat is specially reserved for me, Feng Lulan?" A sarcastic remark could be heard, and a well-developed woman could be seen holding onto a handsome man's arm. And when that man saw Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, he was clearly shocked. How can there be such a beautiful woman in the world? Chapter 444. You guys are martial artists? Feng Lan's expression could be seen immediately changing, and she asked with a fawning look on her face. From this, it could be seen how popular martial artists were. If Xiao Yi knew that martial artists were so popular here, he would definitely stay here and develop himself. Yi Hua didn't say anything, and Dong Huang Baiji, who was the empress, also didn't say anything. Only Qingye spoke on behalf of the family. That's right. Qingye said faintly. Dong Huangli also pointed at herself and said, Ali is also a martial artist. Feng Lan was shocked. Not only was Feng Lan shocked, everyone who was from the aristocratic faction was also shocked. They didn't expect that Shi Tingting, who was about to be banished, would actually bring 4 martial artists here to have a meal. Right now, no one dared to look down on Shi Tingting anymore. A loud and clear sound of a slap rang out in the dining hall. Everyone looked at Feng Lan. When this woman becomes ruthless, she's simply inhumane. Yi Hua and the others were also very confused. Everything was clearly fine. Why did you suddenly slap your own man? Look at that man, he was holding onto his face, completely stupefied, completely unable to understand why he suddenly slapped himself. Feng Lan smiled towards Shi Tingting and said, Tingting, this man deserves to die, he actually dared to seduce me. Fortunately, I noticed some clues just now and didn't continue to be fooled by him. Shi Tingting sneered. The man shouted out that he was wronged. I didn't do anything just now, and you slapped me for no reason at all, and you even said that I seduced you. Simply too shameless. Who seduced you? Feng Lan, it was obviously you who seduced me. Tingting, listen to my explanation. The man could be seen kneeling in front of Shi Tingting and begging. He knew that Shi Tingting was about to rise up. Feng Lan said, Tingting, don't ever believe this man's words, his mouth is full of sweet words. Although he was your fiancé in the past, he actually shamelessly seduced me, making me feel ashamed. This man was indeed Shi Tingting's fiancé in the past, until he was seduced by Feng Lan. When he had nothing to do, he would bring his male pet to show off, and today was also the same. Just that he saw that there was a martial artist beside Shi Tingting. It could be seen that martial artists were truly popular. Tingting, don't listen to his nonsense, it was this woman who drugged me, that's why I did something that let you down, and she even threatened me, saying that if I don't kneel down and lick her, she will beat me up. Feng Lan yelled, Men, drag him out and beat the shit out of him. Fulfill his wish. Instantly, a few fully armed men in mechas walked over and dragged the man away. However, the man was still struggling. Tingting, I know I was wrong. Please save me. I won't dare to do it again. I'll serve you well. However, Shi Tingting ignored them. She could still vividly remember how the two of them had treated her. This kind of man was only handsome, and this powerful noble woman was completely played with like a dog. After playing with him enough, she would just kill him like this. It was the same in every world. The strong were respected and the weak were food. Honorable martial artists, I'm really sorry for disturbing your meal. You can eat whatever you want, it's all on me. Tingting, take good care of the martial artists. This Feng Lan was also a smart woman. She knew that her first impression of Yi Hua wasn't very good. Thus, she didn't directly start a conversation with Yi Hua. Instead, she expressed her apology and complimented the martial artists. Mister, this is my name card. If you have any questions, you can contact me. My 9949 holographic phone will protect you 24/7. Yi Hua accepted Feng Lan's name card. This made the latter very happy and she left happily. The reason why I accepted this name card is to prepare for when I don't need it. If the traveling expenses are not enough, at least there will be someone to count the money and pay for me. That would be my greatest honor. Mister, this woman is very good at lying. Seeing that Yi Hua accepted the name card, Shi Tingting still stopped in case her mister was lied to. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth curved up and he said indifferently, only the two of them can lie to me. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji rolled their eyes at their husband. You are obviously the one who lied to us. And you still have the cheek to say that we lied to you? You are so shameless. Shi Tingting felt that their relationship is really good. They are really a match made in heaven. They are incomparably perfect. Even their daughter is so cute and obedient. Very quickly, various kinds of dishes were served. Needless to say, the dishes tasted really good. The heat was just right. When it should be tender, when it should be loose, when it should be tight, when it should be tight. Advanced civilization sure is good. I reckon that this chef is a robot, right? If we don't consider the nutritional value, the taste is indeed not bad. So spicy, 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 Dong Huangli shouted out to her mother. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji also had Voidless Realms mineral water, Bejeweled Jade Immortal Dew, with her. In case the child gets thirsty, the spiciness will help them quench their thirst. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen grabbing at the air, and a bottle of Yi Bao appeared in her hands. This move of hers made Shi Tingting stupefied. What kind of spatial technology is this? This family of theirs is really mystical. It feels as if they are not afraid of anything at all. Furthermore, Mr. is bringing 2 such beautiful wives with him. Isn't he afraid that something might happen? After all, their beauty is truly enviable. Mommy, help Ali open the bottle. Ali's hands are covered in oil. Ali waved his hands. So spicy, so spicy. Dong Huang Baiji smiled gently and opened the bottle. An enchanting fragrance emitted out from the bottle of Yi Bao mineral water, and the fragrance quickly filled the entire dining hall. Everyone closed their eyes and enjoyed this moment of comfort. Their minds felt incomparably relaxed, and it was as if all of the worries in their minds had vanished into thin air. Shi Tingting, who was the closest to the bottle, was able to sense this fragrance even more. Furthermore, this fragrance seems to be familiar to Shi Tingting. I remember back then when I went to the imperial capital with my father. I was fortunate enough to stand among the crowd and see the emperor. And back then, the emperor seemed to have opened a bottle of national wine for the sake of celebrating. According to the legends, the national wine had been stored for over 1,000 years. When the national wine was opened, it was also this fragrance that made everyone present feel intoxicated. Everyone looked towards the direction of the national wine. After all, the dining hall was only so big, and they would be able to find the national wine very quickly. Is that the national wine? One of the aristocrats muttered. How can it be the national wine? That is the emperor's most valuable treasure. Unless it is a major festival or a celebration, the emperor would not take out the national wine. That's right, the current martial king viewed a small bottle of national wine as a treasure. However, this fragrance is indeed as described, it makes one feel intoxicated. Dong Huang Baiji pinched onto her daughter's face and said dotingly, "Stretch out your hand." Dong Huang Li stretched out her pair of small hands. However, Dong Huang Baiji took the bottle and poured the water out. When everyone saw Dong Huang Baiji's action, they widened their eyes. This is too much of a spendthrift. This spendthrift woman, she actually used this kind of water to wash her daughter's hands. Chapter 445. Dong Huang Li washed her hands clean, then held onto Yi Bao with both of her hands. Gulp, gulp, he drank an entire bottle in one go. Burp, so cool. Looking at her daughter's adorable look, Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her hand and smoothed her daughter's hair. No matter what, we are still outside, I have to pay attention to my image. Dong Huang Baiji took out another bottle. Shi Tingting, who was sitting opposite, was dumbfounded. No wonder he used it to wash his hands. All the nobles also discovered that the beautiful woman actually had a lot of such things. Should I buy a bottle? Qingya opened the bottle cap and personally poured a cup for Shi Tingting. This caused Shi Tingting to be very terrified as she took the cup with both of her hands and received it. When the nobles saw that Shi Tingting could drink such wine, they were simply envious and jealous. Shi Tingting felt very honored. Their family was really nice. Shi Tingting took a sip of the water. This kind of feeling was like being in the sea. His body and mind were completely relaxed, and the joy of the brain was incomparable. This was the sublimation of the soul. No, I can't drink any more. Sir, I don't want to drink any more. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. Not giving me any face at all? Shi Tingting didn't finish her sentence. I want to store it and drink it slowly in the future. Yi Hua's brows gradually unfurrowed. To them, this water might be a treasure, but to me this water is merely something that I can use to wash my daughter's hands. Voidless Realm spring water is truly one of a kind. Perhaps, even in the entire Milky Way galaxy, there wouldn't be so many spring water. It would be a lie to say that they weren't envious. Some of the nobles began to whisper and discuss bad things. After dinner, Shi Tingting brought Yi Hua and his family to martial arts home. Every city has a martial arts home that provides tests and assessments. The rating is produced in the martial arts home. The higher the rank, the bigger the city, the smaller the city. Of course, this is only for the Blue Blaze Star because this small city is as big as a province. But small cities like this were quite common on the Blue Blaze Star. Looking at the 2-story tall martial arts home in front of him, Yi Hua felt that this martial arts home was a bit too shabby. Sir, this is a small place. There aren't many people who learn martial arts here, so the scale looks very ordinary. Shi Tingting explained. Compared to the other buildings, this martial arts house was indeed shabby, but there were a lot of people going in and out. There are humans and there are also other races. This is truly an eye-opener. I wonder if I will be able to see Wei Chang's relatives. Mommy, do you think that if I take a photo with those strange uncles will they pay any attention to Ali? Dong Huangli hugged onto her mother's thigh and looked at those aliens. The staff member announced, Gao Ken, third-rank martial disciple. The crowd went into an uproar. As expected of Gao family's young master, he is already a third-rank martial disciple at such a young age. I heard that his older brother, Gao Yi, is also a martial artist. This main sect is incredible, they even stole away the limelight. Gao Ken is so handsome. Gao Ken, who was on the stage, swung his head, causing a few females to scream out continuously. At this moment, another man walked onto the stage. The man was dressed in ordinary clothes, but the crowd's reaction was very strange. Yi Hua felt very curious and asked, "Who is he?" "Sir, he is from the royal family, his name is Zhou Jia. In the past he was also very impressive, reaching 5th-rank martial disciple at such a young age. He could be said to be the youngster with the most potential of the year, but for some reason he suddenly became weak and fell down from the altar, thus losing the support of his family." After Shi Tingting explained, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji felt that this youngster had quite a bit of perseverance, he did not get knocked down by the difficulties. After listening to Zhou Jia's story, Yi Hua didn't think much about it. In any case, it was just a story of a hard-working youngster who finally reached the peak of his life after going through untold hardships. Too cliché. Zhou Jia slowly walked up the stairs and behind him, some people were ridiculing him. I remember that in the past they would always follow behind him and bootlick him. "Young Master Zhou, don't waste your effort, in any case isn't it better to just eat and wait for death?" "Haha, that's right, young Master Zhou, you are already no longer the genius Zhou of the past." Qinya was a bit unhappy too. My pitiful little Ali, he clearly wanted to do a good deed, but in the end the other party didn't appreciate his kindness. Yi Hua did not say anything. Not all good deeds will be rewarded with good deeds. My daughter also has to understand this point. Why would I be ridiculed by everyone? This is not without reason. The person who was standing in front of Dong Huangli was a young girl. Compared to everyone present, the young girl could be considered to be the youngest. The young girl's appearance was pretty good, and she could be counted as a beauty. The woman turned around and crouched down, comforting him. "Don't be sad, I've encountered it before." "Is that so?" Dong Huangli raised her head and asked adorably. Seeing how cute Dong Huangli was, the girl said with a smile, "Of course there are a lot of them. So there are many such things." Ali understands now. "Ali, what's your name?" the girl asked curiously. "My name is Dong Huangli, big sister, what is your name?" The girl smiled and said, "My surname is Ziche and my name is Qingyi." Dong Huangli appeared to be very polite as she stretched out her hand and said, "So it's big sister Qingyi, hello?" "Hello little Ali," Zish Qingyi said with a faint smile. "Ali, did you come alone?" Dong Huangli shook her head, then pointed at her parents who were not far away from her. "I didn't, Daddy and Mommy came with me." Zish Qingyi looked over and saw Yi Hua and the others. Soon after, Zish Qingyi asked curiously, "Ali has been practicing martial arts at such a young age? So powerful." Dong Huangli said proudly, "Of course, Ali has been practicing martial arts since she was a child." Zish Qingyi smiled but didn't say anything. "You're already so young, so how young are you going to be?" Ali's parents probably just wanted to train their child. "Little guy, being able to punch through a piece of paper with your little fist is already not bad." A young man standing at the side laughed. Zish Qingyi looked at the man and said, "Fei Bai. You're so shameless to bully a little girl." Fei Bai was a delicate-looking boy, and he was also one of the young people present. "Qingyi, I'm just speaking the truth, isn't that right everyone?" Fei Bai spread out his hands and some of the people around him nodded their heads. What kind of strength can a little girl have? Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth and had a very angry look on her face. "If it wasn't for Daddy and Mommy watching, I would have punched him right now and let him know that not only can Ali's little fist punch through a piece of paper, it can also punch through your body. Little fellow, it's better for you to go into Daddy and Mommy's embrace. This is the world of adults, it's very dangerous." Fei Bai laughed, then walked onto the stage. Of course there was also Zish Qingyi. Zish Qingyi took a deep breath, shouted delicately and punched out. Boom. Zish Qingyi. Third-rank martial disciple. Everyone present went into an uproar. To be able to reach third-rank martial disciple at such a young age, this is truly amazing. As expected of Zish Qingyi, this proud daughter of heaven. Fei Bai, who was at the side, was not to be outdone either, and his entire body actually emitted out faint spiritual energy. This time the entire place became silent. Spiritual energy actually leaked out. Bang. This sound caused everyone's ears to go numb. Fei Bai. 4th rank martial disciple. Everyone was no longer able to remain calm, even Gao Can's expression was gloomy. This Fei Bai is also from the main faction. Although they are from the same faction, he actually dared to step on my head. This is truly hateful. When the time comes, I will let Big Brother go and teach him a lesson. Completely unaware that his own big brother had already died. The 3 elders who were sitting at the side revealed a gratified smile. All of these youngsters are not bad, their future prospects are boundless. This time it was Dong Huang Li's turn. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji were both excited, and they tightly held onto their husbands' hands. Although they knew of their daughter's strength, looking at the current situation, they couldn't help but feel worried for their daughter. Originally, Dong Huang Li was only so big, standing in the crowd, it was impossible to notice her at all. Right now, when everyone saw Dong Huang Li going onto the stage, they all laughed out loud. With such a small height, not even the equipment on the stage can reach her. Yi Hua and his 2 wives were very angry. These damn trash are actually laughing at our daughter, we really want to directly kill them. Little fellow, quickly go home and watch cartoons. That's right, little fellow, this place is very dangerous. Little fellow, quickly go home, don't let daddy and mommy worry. Although Yi Hua was laughing, he was laughing at how cute Dong Huang Li was. Yi Hua wasn't laughing at Dong Huang Li. After all, Dong Huang Li has never seen a little girl before. Dong Huang Li pouted her small mouth. Ali is angry. Chapter 447. His tiny fist struck out. Bang. The sound wasn't loud, but it reached everyone's ears. Everyone admired the little fellow's jumping ability. His posture was quite good, and he would definitely become a good martial artist in the future. Seeing that her daughter was able to calm down and take the test, Dong Huang Baiji felt relieved. Ali's mental state is not bad. Yi Hua said faintly as he took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Qingya poked her husband, then pointed at her own stomach. Are you trying to poison your son to death? Yi Hua shook his head helplessly and stepped on the cigarette to extinguish it. Zish Qingyi, who was below the stage, felt that Dong Huang Li's stance was pretty good, just that she was too young. Yo, not bad. Fei Bai was surprised and showed a praising expression. However, just as everyone was exclaiming, something even more shocking happened. The gigantic instrument began to emit green smoke. Then it began to shake violently and cracks began to appear on its surface. With a bang, it actually broke into pieces. Dong Huang Li snorted. Dong Huang Li liked everyone's astonished expression. It seems like father, like daughter. They both like to see other people's shocked expressions as if they had eaten shit. The 3 old men were stunned. This instrument could withstand a blow from a martial warrior. How could it explode? There was definitely a problem with the instrument itself. A staff member came out and explained, I'm sorry, there's a problem with this instrument. What about me? What level are you at? Dong Huang Li pointed at herself and said. The staff smiled and said, you can hit it again. Dong Huang Li pouted her small mouth. So, you don't believe in Ali? Alright then. Ali could only make some noise. Dong Huang Li could be seen walking to the side of the machine, and her posture was still the same as before. Bang. The little fist fiercely smashed onto the surface and then, boom boom boom. The entire machine flew backward and smashed a hole in the wall. Then it crashed somewhere unknown. The entire place was silent. He rubbed his eyes, wondering if he was dreaming. How could that be? A little girl actually blew away the instrument. This was something that could block a blow from a samurai. Unbelievable. It was too fake. Dong Huang Li was very satisfied with this kind of effect. Clapping her little hands, Dong Huang Li waited for the announcement of her level. But what did they know? The staff member walked out and said with a smile, Everyone, I'm really sorry. Both machines are broken. Please come again next time. Then what about Ali's level? Dong Huang Li was unwilling to give up. I have already waited for such a long time, why aren't I given a level yet? The staff smiled and said, Little friend, there's no way to determine your level yet. When we buy new equipment, you can come back for the test. Dong Huang Li let out a breath. Acting cool is so hard. Why is it that daddy is so awesome when acting cool and why am I not able to? It seemed that Ali still had to learn a lot from Papa and strive to have half of Papa's demeanor as soon as possible. Dong Huang Li, who was helpless, walked down from the stage, then took a look at Zhishqingyi who was in front of her and let out a deep sigh. This feeling seemed to be saying that Ali was really depressed. If she had known this would happen, she would have hit him more gently and wouldn't have sent him flying. Ali is really amazing. Although he did not know how strong Ali was, he was certain that Ali was at least stronger than him. Dong Huangli smiled embarrassedly. It's all right. Ali, right? Big brother, I misunderstood you just now. Fei Bai walked over and said while stammering. I feel that I have lost a lot of face by apologizing to a child. Dong Huangli pursed her lips. Big brother, Ali accepts your apology. When did I apologize just now? You are simply spouting nonsense and creating trouble. Looking at his daughter getting along well with the group of older children, Yihua smiled. I feel that my daughter has grown up. Dong Huang Baiji was a bit sentimental. It seems like my daughter will leave me and die when she grows up. Yihua lightly hugged onto the Empress. Ali is going to get married sooner or later. I can't bear to. Dong Huang Baiji became more and more sentimental, and her eyes turned red. Upon thinking about how my sweetheart is going to get married to someone else, my heart feels terrible. Yihua smiled. How about this, let Ali get married to someone else. This way, Ali won't leave your side. That's the only way then. Dong Huang Baiji felt that what Yihua said was true. My daughter cannot be married off to someone else. It's fortunate that my child is a boy, I don't have to worry about it at all. Hello, may I ask if Dong Huangli is your child? One of the three old men could be seen walking over and asking. Shi Tingting immediately shouted out respectfully, Dean Kong. Martial arts home could be considered as the fourth biggest power in the world, but it doesn't participate in any power struggles. Martial arts home has schools in various big cities, and this Kang Yu is the dean of the school in this city. How could he be willing to part with a new star like Dong Huangli? In the future, Dong Huangli will definitely become a martial king, and she might even become a martial spirit or even a higher-level martial overlord. Towards this polite old man in front of him, Yihua nodded his head. Kang Yu was overjoyed. Dong Huangli is a good child. If this old man teaches her, she will definitely become extraordinary in the future. Do I even need an old man like you to teach my daughter? However, seeing that your attitude is good, I will forget about it. No need. Yihua said indifferently. While hugging onto his two wives, he looked at his daughter bragging to others. Kang Yu wrinkled his brows, then signaled to Shi Tingting who was at the side to say good things about Dong Huangli. Shi Tingting shook her head. Although we just came into contact with each other, Shi Tingting felt that this mister doesn't like to say things twice, if not, he will get angry. It wasn't easy for me to beg mister, and now that the situation has stabilized, I don't want to disturb mister or make mister angry. Kang Yu stood there for a while. I have to inform the higher-ups about this matter. This Dong Huangli is not simple. Too formidable. In the future she will definitely become a martial king. Most of the people at the scene had already left, and Dong Huangli was preparing to return to her parents' side. However, she suddenly had two big friends and she really wanted to go out and play with them. Ali, big brother will bring you out to play, do you want to go? Fei Bai grinned and said. In actuality, this person isn't a bad person, he just likes to joke around. Zhishqingyi wrinkled his brows and said, where do you want to bring Ali to? Qingyi, look at that expression of yours, where else can we go? Of course, we are going to Zhou family to watch a good show, we are going to cancel the engagement. Dong Huangli became interested. Playing with daddy and mommy is boring, sometimes, this place is not allowed, that place is not allowed. Ali wants to go, but Ali is afraid that daddy and mommy won't agree to it. Dong Huangli had a worried look on her face as she secretly took a glance at her parents who were not far away from her. Fei Bai said with a smile, Ali, when I was your age I would have long gone out and walked around by myself. Hee hee, you get beaten up by someone every day. Zhishqingyi suddenly revealed this information, causing Fei Bai to feel very awkward. Chapter 448. Fei Bai had a calm look on his face as he rubbed onto Ali's head. Leave it to brother Fei. Zhishqingyi was helpless. However, he quite liked Ali, she was a very interesting little girl. Dong Huangli could be seen dragging the two of them to the front of her parents while trembling with fear and trepidation. Yihua silently looked at the boy and girl behind his daughter. The boy and girl immediately shrunk back. This man's gaze is so scary. Seeing her daughter like this, Dong Huang Baiji thought back to when she was young. At that time she wanted to go out to play, but in the end she was caught and beaten by her father. Daddy, mommy, can Ali go out to play with big brother and big sister? Dong Huangli asked softly. Looking at her daughter's expectant gaze, Dong Huang Baiji didn't know if she should learn from her father and discipline Ali properly. Such a young child actually wants to go out to play with her friends. Right now Yihua was also pondering. My daughter has the strength to protect herself, so I'm not worried about my daughter's safety. I should let my daughter have her own friends and social circle. I can't always tie my daughter to my side, I need to have my own thoughts and opinions. Seeing her daddy and mommy's sunken face, Dong Huangli lowered her head even more and used her shoes to poke the ground, looking very pitiful. Fei Bai mustered up his courage and said, Uncle Auntie, don't worry, in this Long'an city as long as I am here, no one will dare to bully Ali. Zish Qingyi silently nodded his head. Shi Tingting said softly, Mister, their two families are very prestigious in Long'an city. Yihua asked curiously, is this place called Long'an city as well? Yes, mister. What a coincidence, even their names are the same. It wasn't easy for my daughter to make new friends. Although they aren't the same age, it still wasn't easy. If I were to reject them now, my daughter would definitely be sad. Dong Huang Baiji thought so too. My daughter had been living in the courtyard since she was young, and all she came into contact with were maids. She didn't have any friends at all. Now that she had two new friends, she would definitely be very happy. When are you coming back? Yihua asked faintly. In the end, he still decided to let his daughter go out to play and let her experience the world by herself. Even if there was any danger, he would also know about it. Furthermore, with the strength that his daughter had displayed, there was no one in the entire Long'an city who could be her match. Hearing her father's words, Dong Huangli became happy. Uncle, don't worry. We'll bring Ali to big sister Shi's house for dinner. What do you think? Zish Qingyi said seriously. He felt a lot of pressure. Ali's parents were definitely not ordinary people. Yihua silently nodded his head. Ali, remember to come back after dinner. And Daddy, I got it, I guarantee that I will come back on time. Dong Huangli immediately became lively and started bouncing around happily. If this was an ordinary family, they would definitely not allow such a thing to happen. However, as the daughter of a supreme overlord, how could she possibly compare herself with an ordinary child? Yihua also wished for his daughter to experience the world as soon as possible. There are many kinds of friends, and I hope that my daughter will be able to clearly see who is good to her and who is using her. Mommy, Ali went out to play, I won't disturb Daddy and Mommy's honeymoon anymore. After finished speaking, Dong Huangli pulled onto Fei Bai and Zish Qingyi's hands and ran out. Dong Huang Baiji said. Ya Yi Bai Baiji and said to laugh. Li Ji, Li Li's parents Yenya Ji. Yihua patted on Dong Huang Baiji's shoulder. Don't worry, Ali is very smart, she won't be able to play with us. Children need their own space too. Yihua, I didn't expect you to know so much. Qingye held onto her husband's arm and teased. Yihua lowered his head and said softly, the thing that knows the most is your body. Qingye pinched Yihua's waist. This bastard is getting more and more shameless. Alright, children should play with children's things, we adults should also play with adults' things. Shi Tingting, do you have any bars here? Yihua asked faintly. I'm going to take a look at what a civilized bar looks like and learn from other people's techniques. When I go back, I'm going to improve my bar. If not, I'm going to go bankrupt. Shi Tingting asked, Mister, what kind of bar do you want to go to? The highest class ones, the ones that have the best business. Understood. This was Long'an city that was as big as a province, there were countless entertainment facilities. Of course, there were only a few high-class ones. After Dong Huangli ran outside, she was simply overjoyed. I'm finally free from the halo of Daddy and Mommy. Ali, your daddy looks so fierce. Zish Qingyi said softly. Although Zish Qingyi didn't show any expression, Zish Qingyi felt that Daddy was hard to get along with. Big sister Qingyi, my daddy is actually quite easy to talk to, the prerequisite is that you don't provoke him. Dong Huangli laughed mischievously because the group of people that provoked Mommy were all killed by Daddy. Daddy is the protector of Mommy and me, having such a cute daddy is truly a blessing. Ali feels that she is too lucky to be able to be Daddy and Mommy's daughter. Fei Bai asked curiously, Ali, how strong is your daddy? I don't know how strong Ali is, but in any case he is very strong. What are we going to do? Are we going to play at the amusement park or are we going to play with dolls? Dong Huangli was already impatient. Fei Bai laughed out loud, those are all things that children play. Ali is a child. Zish Qingyi revealed out a faint smile, causing Fei Bai to become a bit absent-minded. Soon after, Fei Bai shook his head. Ali, let's go and watch the wedding annulment, that scene would definitely be explosive. Fei Bai suggested. Dong Huangli wrinkled her brows. Is it that little big brother who was ridiculed by everyone? That's right, their family is treating us today, but this Zhou Jia's test is still the same, they will definitely come and cancel the wedding. Fei Bai was already impatient to see Zhou Jia's helpless and angry look. Wasn't he very arrogant in the past? To think that he is so amazing just because he is a pampered son, this is retribution. The big sister Qingyi goes, Ali will go too. Dong Huangli held onto Zish Qingyi's hand and said. Zish Qingyi looked at Fei Bai, seemingly to be asking, how are you going to beg me? Qingyi, we have been friends for many years. Before Fei Bai could finish, Dong Huangli cried out in surprise, Big brother Fei, do you like big sister Qingyi? Fei Bai choked on his own saliva, while Zish Qingyi turned her face away with a slightly red face. Ali, how could I possibly like Qingyi? It can't be. Fei Bai hurriedly explained. Zish Qingyi said coldly, who asked you to like her? Shameless. After finished speaking, Zish Qingyi pulled Dong Huangli and walked away. No. Qingyi, listen to my explanation. Fei Bai hurriedly followed after Zish Qingyi. You can go and explain to other women. Chapter 449. The situation is a bit similar to that of Papa and Mama. It seems that Ali can also be a matchmaker, haha. Fei Bai had no choice but to follow. After hearing what Ali said, he was a little confused. In actuality, Fei Bai and Zish Qingyi had known each other since they were young. Long, and City's social circle was only that big. Fei Bai's family belonged to the bishop's faction, while Zish Qingyi belonged to the royal family's faction. They were destined to become rivals in the future. However, that was something to do after they grew up. After all, they were only 16 years old. When they were in the prime of their youth, they would hang out and play together. Zish Qingyi was one of the more outstanding girls among the three factions and was liked by many boys. Of course, Fei Bai liked her as well, but he did not say it out loud. He knew that since he was in the bishop's faction, it was impossible for him to be with her in the future. At this moment, an octopus bro walked over with a microphone in his hand. Hello, this is a street interview. Octopus bro grinned, and his entire head was filled with tentacles. Looking at the octopus bro, Dong Huangli's entire body went numb, and Dong Huangli hid behind Zish Qingyi. Fei Bai and Zish Qingyi were now normal. Fei Bai said, interesting, what do you want to interview? I have a device here. Just take a look at your face and you will know how many times you have booked a room. Zhang Yuji's words shocked Fei Bai. The number of times he booked a room? Fei Bai said hurriedly, what's there to test? Let's go. Wait, I think the test is pretty good, Zish Qingyi said indifferently. Qingyi, that's not allowed. I'll treat you to ice cream. Zish Qingyi didn't care at all and let Brother Octopus do the test. Octopus was very happy. He wanted to break up a couple and take revenge on society. The test results came out very quickly. 0 room booking record. This made Fei Bai secretly happy. He did not think that Qingyi had not gone to a hotel before. She was a good girl. Qingyi, didn't you say there's a dress you like? I'll buy it for you. Fei Bai immediately changed the topic. Test, Zish Qingyi said coldly. Dong Huangli said in a low voice, Big brother Fei, do you not dare to do it? He who says I don't dare. It's just a test. So be it. Fei Bai could only bite the bullet. However, the results were often astonishing. At such a young age, he had actually opened it 153 times. Hearing this result, Zish Qingyi's entire body emitted a chill. Thank you for your cooperation. I wish you two a long life together. Brother Octopus ran away after saying that. He was very worried that he would get hammered. Qingyi listened to the explanation. This is all a group of scoundrel friends getting a room and playing cards. It's not what you think. Zish Qingyi said indifferently, what does it have to do with me? Li, if you are able to help me court Qingyi, I will do anything you want me to do. Fei Bai patted onto his chest. Right now, I am not of age yet, there are some rules that I don't have to follow. Dong Huangli appeared to be very confident. Leave it to me. Fei Bai patted onto Dong Huangli's shoulder. Big brother appreciates your kind intentions, but there are some things that a child wouldn't understand. The banquet was held in the form of a buffet. People who were dressed luxuriously were chatting with each other in groups, and robots were shuttling back and forth among the crowd, serving drinks to the people. Meanwhile, Dong Huangli pulled out a stool and stood on the stool, then began eating the cake. This is too delicious. This cream cake is simply too delicious. Everyone who was present at the banquet was sent by the royal family, and very few people would touch the buffet. Even if it was a person who looked like a teenager, it would be embarrassing for them to eat like this. However, Dong Huangli was a child and she looked so cute. Li, is it delicious? Zish Qingyi held onto the cream cake and fed it to Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli happily received the cream cake, and her big eyes narrowed into slits. It's delicious. Fei Bai, who was at the side, was drinking fruit wine, looking very gentlemanly. Big sister Qingyi, let me tell you a secret. Dong Huangli said with a smile. What secret? Big brother Fei just told me that he has liked you for a very long time. Dong Huangli said with a smile. Fei Bai sprayed out all of the fruit wine that was in his mouth, then hurriedly explained, Qingyi, Li is just spouting nonsense. Zish Qingyi silently took a look at Fei Bai, then let out a cold snort. Dong Huangli sighed, Big brother Fei, if you continue like this, you will become a single dog in the future, just like my Uncle Green. Chapter 450. Dong Huangli pursed her lips. It means a man who is unable to find a wife, a lone star, a lone wolf. Hee, how could I, Fei Bai, not be able to find a wife? I can find a whole bunch of them in minutes. Hee, go look for him. Zish Qingyi laughed coldly. Dong Huangli shook her head. This big brother Fei is also a male chauvinist. Within the crowd there were a lot of people who were paying attention to Dong Huangli. The rumor of the national wine had already spread out. Not sure where did Shi Tingting from the aristocratic party found a martial artist, and when Shi Tingting was eating, the martial artist opened a bottle that was similar to the national wine, which attracted a lot of people's attention. He also wanted to know if it was true or not. Hey, isn't that Zhou Jia? Fei Bai pointed at the young man not far away. Dong Huangli also saw Zhou Jia. Tonight, Zhou Jia was wearing a white and fitting gown, appearing very refined and courteous. However, no one paid any attention to him, causing him to appear a bit miserable. Fei Bai laughed. I wonder if the Shi family will come tonight? If they come, then there will be a good show to watch. You like watching it that much? Zish Qingyi asked indifferently. It's not like you don't know how arrogant Zhou Jia was when he was strong. Look at him now, no one even cares about him. Dong Huangli shook her head helplessly. Big sister Qingyi didn't mean that at all, she is truly an idiot. Suddenly, four people walked over from afar. Damn, the Shi family is really here. Fei Bai exclaimed. Everyone looked at the people from the Shi clan. Among them there was a girl with an astonishing appearance, comparable to Zish Qingyi, but their temperaments were different. Zish Qingyi was amiable and approachable, while Shi Sihan had an air of arrogance. Everyone looked at the four of them. They discussed in whispers. The Shi family probably chose to come today to break off the engagement. Yeah, Zhou Jia used to be a spoiled brat, but now he's trash. How could the Shi family let Shi Sihan marry him? I didn't expect the proud son of the past to fall to such a state. That man looks so familiar. Heavens, it's Lu Qing, a first-grade martial warrior. Big shot. Looks like the Zhou family is going to be ruthlessly slapped in the face tonight. There are even 2 martial artist-level experts. Is the royal family going to have an internal strife? Among the 4, there was a handsome man with a cold look in his eyes, as if he didn't care about anyone. This kind of small city was trash. Even a martial artist could proclaim himself as a king here. If he came here, wouldn't he be able to ascend to heaven? The expressions of the Zhou clan members changed slightly when they saw the 4 of them. Zhou Jia in particular clenched his fists tightly. It was obvious that he already knew why they were here. This was really a case of a tiger being bullied by a dog. That's Lady Lu Qing. I didn't expect the Shi family to invite such a person. Fei Bai was astonished. Martial warriors were such powerful beings that they could teach others how to behave in a matter of minutes. Dong Huangli asked curiously, is this Lu Qing very powerful? Ziju Qingyi took out a tissue and wiped the corner of Dong Huangli's mouth, then said in a low voice, I heard that in the main city, Dong Huangli's position is quite high. The Shi family is really generous. Fei Bai sighed. Dong Huangli continued to wave the chicken wing. We are all small figures, what is there to be surprised about? The chicken wing is still the most delicious, it smells so good. However, to Long'an City, such a person had not appeared for a very long time. This caused everyone to be extremely astonished. Uncle Zhou, hello. Shi Sihan could be seen walking in front of the Zhou clan's family head, Zhou Yutong, and politely shouted out. Zhou Yutong was a tall and sturdy middle-aged man, and there was a faint smile on his face. However, right now, no matter how hard he tried to smile, he was unable to smile at all. The other party's intention was already very clear. This Shi family truly doesn't give me any face at all, to actually choose this kind of occasion. Sahan, after not seeing you for a few months, you have become even more beautiful. Zhou Yutang endured the anger in his heart, and right now, Zhou Jia walked to the side and looked at this woman who had sworn not to leave him in the past. Shi Sahan said with a slight smile, "Uncle Zhou, you flatter me. Today Sahan came here to talk about a matter." Hearing what Shi Sahan said, everyone held their breath. She really came here to break off the engagement. Burp, a strange sound rang out. In this quiet occasion, Dong Huangli squatted down embarrassedly. After burping because she was too full, she let out a burp. After this small interlude, Shi Sahan said with a smile, "Uncle Zhou, if there's anything that Sahan wants to say, you don't have to treat me as an outsider." "Hehe, of course not, Sahan, if there's anything that you want to say, just say it." Looking at the martial warrior level experts and the two martial warriors behind them, Zhou Yutang didn't dare to say anything. Shi Sahan took a look at Zhou Jie then said faintly, "My father wishes for our two families to break off the engagement. Sahan is truly sorry." Hearing what Shi Sahan said, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Shi Sahan really said it out loud. That's a direct slap to the face. However, Shi Sahan said it tactfully. She was rather polite. Shi Sahan raised her hand and Lu Qing took out a small box. Shi Sahan said faintly, "Uncle Zhou, inside this box is a spirit-gathering pill. Zhuya should be able to use it. I hope that he will be able to find a better girl in the future." Bang! The wine glass in Zhou Yutang's hand was smashed into pieces. "I am the dignified family head. And I actually got my face slapped by a little girl. Furthermore, it was done in front of so many people. This is a humiliation." Looking at his father's red face, Zhou Jia said coldly, "Shi Sahan, take your things and scram. Our Zhou family doesn't welcome you. Also, it's me who is divorcing you." To everyone's surprise, Zhou Jia took out a divorce certificate. It seemed like he had prepared for this. "Zhou Jia, I'm giving face to your father. I hope you won't tarnish your father's name anymore." Shi Sahan said disdainfully. "In the past, you were favored by the heavens and everyone had to suck up to you. But now, who do you think you are?" Zhou Yutang took a deep breath and said, "Sahan, is this really what your father wants? It's my own business and I will make my own decisions. Uncle Zhou, please control your son and don't embarrass him in front of so many people." Hearing this, Zhou Jia shouted angrily, "Shi Sahan, remember what you said today. My Zhou Jia, I swear to the heavens that you will regret it." "Enough. Don't say any more." Zhou Yutang shouted at his son. Wasn't he embarrassed enough? Shi Sahan said faintly, "Uncle Zhou is right. Know your place and know your own strength. Don't keep saying things like, 'Life is full of ups and downs, don't bully the young.' When you said that, I really wanted to laugh." Yo. Zhou Jia pointed at Shi Sahan and threw a punch at her. However, before he could make a move, his father, who was behind him, reached out and gave him a slap. Slap. It was loud and painful. Zhou Jia had reached the realm of a first-grade warrior. Oh my god. How was that possible? He's only 16 years old and he's already a samurai. A warrior of this age would be considered a genius even in the imperial capital. Shi Sahan stared blankly at Zhou Jia who was in the middle of erupting. Stupefied, Lu Qing was also shocked. It was her first time seeing such a young warrior. Especially from nothing to something. Just like leveling up from level 0 to level 10, he instantly went from an ordinary person to a samurai. Those youngsters who were mocking Zhou Jia just now all shut their mouths, and they were even afraid of Zhou Jia. The rising Zhou Jia will definitely take revenge on them. Oh my god, I suddenly feel so regretful. Just now, it would have been fine if Shi Sahan had left. Why did I still have to apologize to them? Right now, it isn't others who need to apologize, you are the one who needs to apologize. Fei Bai and Ziju Qingyi were both stupefied. We are only martial disciples, and Zhou Jia has actually reached the realm of a first-grade warrior. The difference between us isn't small at all. Dong Huangli licked the ice cream. She felt that she had changed from a small salted fish to a big salted fish, but she was still a salted fish. Zhou Jia slowly opened his eyes, feeling the power that he hadn't felt for a long time. Looking at Shi Sahan who was in front of him, he said, "I told you before, I will make you regret. Life is full of ups and downs, don't bully a young man for being poor." At this moment, after Zhou Jia said such a sentence, no one refuted him and no one laughed at him. After all, who would dare to laugh at a 16-years-old samurai? Is he tired of living? However, Dong Huangli was amused by Zhou Jia's words, then pointed at Zhou Jia and said, Haha, Ali has already heard you say that 3 times. Everyone at the scene, Fei Bai and Ziju Qingyi immediately covered Dong Huangli's small mouth. Little ancestor, that is a samurai, you are not allowed to laugh at him. Fei Bai said in a low voice. Ali, it wasn't 3 times, it was 2 times, and the other time was said by Shi Sihan. Oh, is that so? Ali remembered wrongly, I'm really sorry. Dong Huangli pouted her mouth. Just now, I was too focused on eating. Zhou Jia took a cold glance at Zhou Jia. I will properly teach all of those who laughed at me a lesson. However, I will first make these people in front of me regret. Shi Sihan, if you kneel down and beg right now, I will still take you in as a concubine. Zhou Jia said coldly. A lot of people felt that Zhou Jia was not bad. Although a concubine cannot be compared to a concubine, becoming a concubine of a samurai is still a great honor. After hearing that, Shi Sihan's beautiful face alternated between white and red. I didn't expect that this trash would actually explode. Zhou Jia, so what if this is the case? My Shi family is about to go to the Imperial City. Have you been there before? Do you know how many people like you are in the Imperial City? Even if you suddenly become strong now, in my eyes, you will forever be a trash. Lu Qing, who was at the side, couldn't help but sigh. Even in the entire Imperial City, this Zhou Jia can be counted as a genius. Right now, if you admit defeat, you will still be able to become a concubine, but in the future, even if you want to become a concubine, you won't have any plans at all. Zhou Jia, don't dare to say that I am an absolute genius, but in the entire Blue Blaze planet, how many people are like me? A 16-year-old first-rank samurai. Shi Sihan, I know that you are very regretful right now, so stop putting on an act, kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake. There is still a place for you in my concubine. A second ago, Shi Sihan was suppressing Zhou Jia, and in the next second, Zhou Jia rose up and slapped Shi Sihan's face. Shi Sihan tightly clenched her fists. Why did this bastard rise up? He is a trash. A complete and utter trash. Right at this moment, a family's airship arrived in the sky, and under a blue light, a slightly plump man appeared on the airship. Father. Shi Sihan shouted out in grievance. Slap. Shi Hua gave his daughter a backhand slap on her face. How dare he secretly come to break off the engagement? If it wasn't for someone coming to report, he would have missed out on a genius son-in-law, a 16-year-old samurai. In the future he would be a marquis. Everyone was shocked. This reversal came one after another, and the head of the Shi family gave his daughter a big slap when he got off the airship. Chapter 452. Shi Sihan covered her cheek, her eyes filled with shock. Her father actually hit her in front of so many people. Although you didn't say anything when I came here to break off the engagement, you must have known about it and acquiesced to it. How dare he hit me? You felt wronged. Shi Sihan felt extremely wronged. Shi Hua walked toward Zhou Yutong and unexpectedly held his hand, saying apologetically, Old Zhou, I've really troubled you. This unfilial daughter of mine actually did such a thing behind my back. I'm sorry for staying here. Everyone scolded him for being shameless. He came just because he saw someone else rise up. If Zhou Jia hadn't risen, he wouldn't have come. Zhou Yutong didn't want to make a big deal out of this. After all, Shi Hua's cousin was in the imperial capital, and he was even an official. He couldn't afford to offend him. Since the other party had given him face, then forget it. Old Shi, look at what you're saying, it's all a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Zhou Yutong revealed out a smile that he hadn't seen for a long time. Forcing the Shi family to lower their head, this Shi family's influence in Long and City is second to none. In the past, she had been happy that her son could climb up the ladder with the Shi family. But now, it seemed like the Shi family wanted to climb up the ladder with her son. Fei Bai whispered, how shameless, too shameless. For the sake of benefits they can do anything. Dong Huangli had a very puzzled look on her face. At her age she still needs to digest what she just said. This is a marriage alliance, Ziju Qingyi said indifferently. Even he could not escape the shackles of fate. Fei Bai comforted her, you will find a man who will treat you well in the future. Dong Huangli immediately covered her face with her hand. Pushing the girl that he likes away, I have never seen such a thing before. Ziju Qingyi said indifferently, that's for sure. I'm definitely better than you. Fei Bai laughed dryly. Shi Hua smiled at Zhou Jia and said, Jia Sihan is too mischievous. Uncle has already taught her a lesson for you. Don't be angry, we're family. Whose family with her? Zhou Jia shouted coldly. Shi Hua's face stiffened. This boy was humiliated and he definitely didn't feel good. She just insulted the Zhou family. Uncle Shi, what should we do? Zhou Jie questioned. Why didn't he show up just now when he knew that he was a super potential stock? Did he take him for a fool? Shi Hua hardened his heart. This Zhou Jie would definitely have extraordinary achievements in the future. He had to pull him along. Sihan, come here. Shi Hua shouted angrily. Shi Sihan covered her face and slowly walked over. Apologize to Ji. Shi Sihan widened her eyes. Father, how can I apologize? Not only do you have to apologize, you have to kneel down and apologize to me. Who told you to break off the engagement? Your wings have hardened. Shi Hua roared. Father, you actually made your daughter kneel. I won't kneel. Shi Sihan was also a woman with character. She never regretted her words. Shi Hua said solemnly, I see that you are getting bolder and bolder. With a single hand he pressed his daughter onto the ground. Even though she wasn't kneeling, it was enough to show her attitude. Of course, Zhou Yutang had to play the good cop at this moment. He quickly helped Shi Sihan up and smiled. It's normal for youngsters to be noisy. Don't you think so? Shi Hua also said, that's right. Young people are hot-tempered. They'll be more stable after they have children. Zhou Jie suddenly laughed. That's true, after Sihan gives birth to my child, she'll be a lot more well-behaved. Upon hearing what Zhou Jie said, the two fathers laughed heartily. Only Shi Sihan knew what Zhou Jie meant. This trash is definitely trying to torture me. You are not worthy of me. You are a trash and you still want me to give birth to your child? Dream on. Burp, Dong Huangli burped again. Dong Huangli couldn't help but rub her stomach. I'm so full. If I continue to eat like this, I'll turn into a pig. Burp, Dong Huangli couldn't help but burp again. Everyone looked towards her direction. Burping in this kind of situation is very strange. It's as if you are not giving other people face at all. Facing the gaze of so many people, Dong Huangli apologized very politely. I'm sorry, Ali ate too much. However, Zhou Jie had already endured for a very long time. This isn't the first time this little girl has done this. She's trying to disgust me. Do you know what I am right now? Do you know what a rank 1 martial warrior is? Even if I go to the main city, I will be able to enjoy special treatment. Even if I go to the imperial city, I will still be considered as a genius. How can I tolerate being ridiculed by a little girl? Guards, capture this little girl and bring her out. Not just anyone can sneak in and steal food. Zhou Jie shouted out towards the guards. In actuality, Zhou Jie had already completed a huge reversal tonight. His act of showing off was also very well done. Shi family lowered their heads and now everyone present had lowered their heads as well. This was enough to prove how high Zhou Jie's act was. It was already very good for him to be here, but why did he have to go and shout at a little girl, and furthermore it was Dong Huangli. Don't you know that her mommy regards her as her life? Don't you know that her daddy is a supreme overlord? You actually dared to openly say that their child stole food? You're really too pretentious, little brother. Hearing that someone said that she stole food, Dong Huangli was not willing to accept it. Feeling wronged, Dong Huangli said, Ali didn't steal food. Where is she? Why isn't she here yet? Quickly bring this little girl out of here. She's an eyesore. Zhou Jie spoke out once again. Because right now, his ego was inflated to the point that he almost couldn't recognize himself anymore. Right at this moment, Fei Bai stood out. Zhou Jie. I was the one who brought her in. Zhou Jie sneered. Fei Bai, who do you think you are? What rights do you have to bring a person in? Letting a dog like you in is already a great honor. Fei Bai was quite angered. A vile person gaining power. A vile person gaining power. Then what about me? Zish Qingyi stood out and said. Right now, Zhou Jie is no longer the trash that he was in the daytime. He is currently a rank 1 martial warrior. I can't afford to offend him and I can't afford to offend him. Zish Qingyi, you better properly look after the person that you brought over in the future. Don't bring any random cat or dog into our Zhou family. Do you think that my Zhou family's food is something that just anyone can eat? Zhou Jie's words dealt a blow to Dong Huangli. Feeling wronged, Dong Huangli retorted, Ali is not some random cat or dog. Ali has a daddy and mommy. Seeing that Dong Huangli's eyes had already turned red, Zish Qingyi said coldly, Zhou Jie, don't think that just because you became a martial warrior, you can look down on everyone here. Ali is still a child. What are you shouting for? Zhou Jie's expression turned cold. If it was 10 minutes ago I would be able to accept what you said, but right now? No. Zhishqingi, I can see that you are also from the royal family's faction. Don't be so shameless. Bring along this brat and scram. Zhou Jia shouted out with his hands behind his back. Chapter 453. The scene was completely silent. Even those AI robots had stopped delivering the wine. After feeling Zhou Jia's oppressive aura, they were all trembling in fear. Let alone a human. This is a clamor from a rank 1 martial warrior in this small Long'an city, who dares to provoke him. Even Lu Qing, who is also a rank 1 martial warrior beside her, doesn't dare to. Because Zhou Jia is only 16 years old. His future is limitless. Shi Sihan stood at the side and didn't say a word. In her heart she was cursing this trash. If not for him suddenly rising up, how could I have been beaten by my father, and even more so, I lost face in front of so many people. Tomorrow this news will go viral in the entire Long'an city. Even Shi Sihan thought of the title. Gold Digger gets slapped in the face. Zhou family's young master rises up again. Long'an city. Tremble. Zhou Jia, what kind of man are you to bully a girl and a child? Fei Bai stood in front of Zhishqingi and Dong Huangli. Zhou Jia mocked. Fei Bai, I already told you just now. Scram back to your bishop faction. Don't behave atrociously in my territory. Zhou Jia, so what if you are a rank 1 martial warrior now? With your character you are still trash. Zhou Jia suddenly laughed out loud. This year I have been suppressed too much, and now I can finally let it all out. Who can understand this kind of feeling? So what, even if I slap your face, who dares to speak up for you? After finished speaking, he slapped towards the empty space. Fei Bai was directly slapped and crashed into the table beside him, causing the food to scatter all over the floor. Fei Bai. Zhishqingi cried out in shock, then ran forward. He didn't suffer much, he just got slapped in the face. Slapped across the air. This scene shocked everyone once again. This requires a very strong spirit control to be able to do this, not to mention that the slap was concentrated at a single point. There was also strength and other factors. I didn't expect this Zhou Jia to actually be so powerful. In a few years' time he might even be able to break through martial warrior and become martial master. At that time, even if he goes to the imperial capital, he would still be able to have a seat there, and he might even be able to meet the Federation president. In a few decades he would become a martial king. That would be the 4th martial king in the entire Federation. Everyone felt that they were witnesses to the future martial king. They were all very excited and did not dare to say anything more. Even if Zhou Jia killed someone, they would feel that it was only natural. A piece of trash dares to clamor in front of me, Zhou Jia? Beating you is like beating a dog. Drag them out. Zhou Jia coldly snorted. He did not care about anyone's face. In the future his name would spread throughout the entire Ashen Blaze Star, or even the entire galaxy. As long as he appeared, everyone had to kneel to welcome him, and he could choose any woman he wanted. Thinking of this, Zhou Jia laughed arrogantly. It seemed like he had suppressed it for too long, that his heart had become distorted. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly 3 muffled sounds rang out. The guards in the mechas were sent flying, and one of them was deeply embedded in the wall, the kind that couldn't be pulled out. However, this was not the main point. Everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at that small figure. Just now, it was her who stretched out her meaty little hand, and as if she was throwing away a doll, she threw away the 2-meter-tall burly man. Fei Bai and Zhishqingi were also dumbfounded. In their hearts, and even everyone who participated in the test, they subconsciously thought that it was the machine that had malfunctioned, and it wasn't Dong Huangli who sent the 3 men in the mechas flying. However, when they saw how easily Dong Huangli threw away the 3 men in the mechas, they immediately felt dizzy. After all, the people in the mechas have strength as well. According to the level of the mechas that the guards were wearing, they should at least have the strength of a rank 3 martial disciple. Although Zhou Jia was shocked, he quickly felt relieved. After all, knocking down 3 of his family's guards wasn't a big deal. Traces of tears could be seen at the corner of Dong Huangli's eyes. Evidently she was angered to tears just a moment ago. With a choking tone, Dong Huangli said, "No wonder everyone is ignoring you, so it turns out that you are so hateful. So what? The strong are respected. Right now, I am not someone that you all can afford to offend. Gao Can, if you have the guts, scold me one more time." Zhou Jia looked towards Gao Can, who was within the crowd. Just a moment ago, Gao Can was very good at stirring up the crowd, but right now, Gao Can no longer utter a word. Gao Can, who was within the crowd, lowered his head and remained silent. If this Zhou Jia was only a martial artist, I can still scold him one more time. After all, my brother is also a martial artist, but Zhou Jie is a martial artist. Little friend, take a look, who dares to scold me? Zhou Jie spread out both of his hands and had an expression that seemed as if no one in the world dared to scold him. You are an idiot, Ali looks down on you. Dong Huangli couldn't help but scold Zhou Jie. My mother taught me to be a sensible and polite child, but this Zhou Jie is truly too hateful. Ali wants to scold him. Everyone was very shocked. How can this child be so immature to actually scold a martial artist? Not only did he scold a martial artist, he even said that he looks down on a martial artist. Oh my God. If a martial artist were to become angry, no one would be able to withstand his anger. Facing the scolding of a child, furthermore, the child scolded so innocently, as if what the child said was a fact. This kind of feeling made Zhou Jie very unhappy. Little wimp, if you have the guts, try scolding me one more time. Zhou Jie's expression turned cold, seemingly not joking at all. Everyone was using their gazes to persuade Dong Huangli not to anger a 16-year-old martial artist anymore. If this goes on, she will definitely get injured. Everyone didn't want to see such an adorable child get injured, but they didn't dare to say anything good about Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli used her sweet voice and shouted out once again, "You are just a salted fish. Even if you turn over a new leaf, you will still be a salted fish." Like father, like daughter, Dong Huangli had learned her father's catchphrase very clearly and logically. Hearing what Dong Huangli said, everyone sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Little ancestor, once you say those words, no one will be able to save you. Meanwhile, Zhou Jie's body emitted out a strong pressure, and with a gloomy expression, he immediately disappeared from where he was standing. In a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Dong Huangli, then lowered his head and looked at the little girl in front of him. There was a very obvious difference between the two's height. Although Zhou Jie was only 16 years old, his height was already 1.78 centimeters, while Dong Huangli's height was only at the knee level. Even if Dong Huangli wanted to look straight into Zhou Jie's eyes, she would have to raise her head. Little wimp. Do you know what you just said just now? Zhou Jie tightly clenched his fists, and a faint white light was emitting out from his fists. It seemed as if white flames were enveloping his fists. Dong Huangli didn't have a trace of fear at all, and she said with a childish voice, "Do you think that you are very powerful? You have never seen what is truly powerful, and only after you have seen what is truly powerful, will you realize that you are actually nothing. In the end, a salted fish will still be a salted fish. No matter how much you evolve, you will still not be able to escape from your essence." Everyone felt that although this child's voice was very young, the feeling that this child gave off was just like that of a small adult. In fact, there was even a kind of illusion that this child's body was gradually becoming taller. Chapter 454. *CK. A 16-year-old rank 1 martial warrior actually went to bully a child. Everyone was speechless. This is simply inhumane. Seeing that Dong Huangli was about to be bullied, Zish Qingyi immediately rushed over. However, he was immediately pushed away by Zhou Jie. "Zish Qingyi? You better not meddle in other people's business. Otherwise you will suffer." Seeing that his daughter was actually pushed down as a father, he immediately ran out of the crowd. This foolish child, why did she go and provoke him? Zish Qingyi glared at Zhou Jie angrily. "I'm telling you, if you touch Ali today, her parents will not forgive you." In actuality, Fei Bai and Zish Qingyi felt very guilty. We promised Ali's father that we would take good care of her, but in the end, we didn't expect that we would encounter such a thing. We are truly ashamed. We don't even have the strength to fight back. If something were to happen, how are we going to explain this to Ali's parents? That's great, I will beat her to the point that even her parents won't be able to recognize her. The current Zhou Jie was extremely ferocious. Dong Huangli looked at her big brother and big sister who were in pain, then looked at Zhou Jie who was in front of her. At first, she thought that he was pitiful, and she even stretched out her hand to help him up. Dong Huangli felt deeply humiliated by her actions. This kind of person shouldn't be pitiful. "Little fellow, today I will teach you a lesson in place of your parents." After speaking, Zhou Jie raised his hand, seemingly like he was going to give Dong Huangli a big slap. Everyone present couldn't bear to see this scene and turned their faces away. This is too much of a bully. Right now, Dong Huangli had lost her innocence and said gravely, "No one can replace my daddy and mommy." Dong Huangli lightly tapped onto Zhou Jie's chest with her meaty palm, then lightly slapped onto Zhou Jie's chest. However, Dong Huangli's action was extremely fast. to the point that Zhou Jie didn't even notice that Dong Huangli had moved. Dong Huangli's expression was still sinister, and her palm was still raised up. There wasn't the slap that Zhou Jie expected. Instead, when Zhou Jie's slap landed on the air, he lost his balance and fell onto the ground. Everyone was stupefied. Zhou Jie is a rank 1 martial warrior, how is it possible for him to fall onto the ground? Zhou Yutang was stupefied, Xihua was also stupefied, Xihua was stupefied as well. Zhou Jie, who had fallen to the ground, widened his eyes. How was this possible? The child was right in front of him. Why didn't he hit him? Instead he tripped. It was fine if he didn't get hit, but how could he have fallen? This result made Zhou Jie even angrier. This was the first time he had fought as a first-rank warrior, and it had ended with a fall. How could this be? Zhou Jie suddenly stood up, and while looking at Dong Huangli, his expression became even more sinister and terrifying. Without saying anything, Zhou Jie actually punched towards Dong Huangli. Everyone cried out in alarm. However, Dong Huangli looked faintly at Zhou Jie, then stretched out her small index finger and pointed it onto her fist. The scene froze at this moment. How was that possible? A child actually used his fingers to block the fist of a first-grade martial artist. This was unimaginable and unprecedented. Everyone was stunned, even the robot. You. How is this possible? Zhou Jie said while looking at the short and small Dong Huangli. At this moment he is even doubting whether his strength is fake or not. Dong Huangli said angrily, Ali already told you. There is always someone better out there. You're just a small warrior. Do you really think you're very powerful? My papa can kill you with a single breath. No, that's impossible. Zhou Jie opened his big eyes and stared fixedly at Dong Huangli as he retreated. Why is this child able to block my fist with his fingers? I'm a first-grade martial artist. Suddenly, a scorching feeling came from his chest. The spiritual energy within his body is actually uncontrollably flowing chaotically. What is going on? Zhou Jie suddenly knelt onto the ground with both of his hands supporting himself on the ground. He seemed to be in a lot of pain. His originally sinister face became even more distorted, and his entire body became completely red. Zhou Yutang hurriedly walked over to his son's side and checked on his son's condition. Immediately his expression sunk. The spiritual energy within his son's body is actually uncontrollably flowing chaotically. Xihua tightly wrinkled his brows, then said to Lu Qing, "Go and take a look at his situation." Shi Sihan sneered. Retribution. Serves him right. Everyone was paying attention to the changes that were happening to Zhou Jie. Is this the prelude to another breakthrough? I heard that every time a breakthrough happens, it would be very painful. Lu Qing was a lot more powerful than Zhou Yutang. In an instant, she discovered the source of the problem, and her expression immediately changed. The spiritual energy within Zhou Jie's body was indeed uncontrollably flowing chaotically. However, this was not an ordinary kind of uncontrollably flowing chaotically. This also meant that Zhou Jie has been crippled. How is this possible? How can a first-grade martial artist be crippled so easily? Unless the person is a martial master-level expert. Lu Qing immediately tore open Zhou Jie's clothes, and a small handprint could be seen on Zhou Jie's chest. Then she looked towards Dong Huangli. I didn't even see when the handprint was placed on my chest. Or could it be that this child is already so terrifying that I didn't even notice it? Lord Martial Artist, what happened to my son? Zhou Yutang had a bad premonition. Lu Qing shook her head, then walked back to Xihua's side and told Xihua about the situation. After listening to Lu Qing's report, Xihua shook his head. What a disappointment. Everyone saw the expressions on these people's faces. This Zhou Jie isn't breaking through, there is another possibility. Some of the youngsters immediately revealed a smile on their faces. Great. Even the heavens have opened their eyes. Father, I feel terrible. Zhou Jie grabbed his father's arm and begged for help like a child. He didn't have the courage he had just now. Zhou Yutang's expression remained calm. Zhou Jie turned his head around and looked towards Dong Huangli, who was not far away. What did you do to me? Did he poison me? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Zhou Jie was finally unable to suppress himself anymore, and a mouthful of blood sprayed out from his mouth. A powerful spiritual energy erupted out from his body, and the spiritual energy soared straight into the sky. Different from before, a few minutes ago the spiritual energy descended from the sky, but right now the spiritual energy was indeed coming out from his body, just like returning the spiritual energy back to the sky. Ah! Zhou Jie's unwilling roars could be heard. After quite a while, everything returned back to normal. Zhou Jie had only vomited out a mouthful of blood, and it wasn't a big deal. However, right now he felt that he would rather be dead than alive. My strength, where did my strength go? Gradually, Zhou Jie began to turn crazy as he looked at his own hands in disbelief. It's you? It's you? Zhou Jie, who was in a state of madness, suddenly stood up, then ran towards Dong Huangli at the speed of a normal person. Right now, Fei Bai and Zhishqingyi are the heavens. Zhishqingyi directly slapped Zhou Jie away. How could Zhou Yutang endure this? Surround him. Chapter 455. Zhou Yutang, what do you think you're doing? As Zhishqingyi's father, Ziche asked angrily. Your son was a warrior earlier and everyone tolerated it. But now your son is nothing. Do you think everyone can stand it? No wonder Zhou Jie was so arrogant. He must have inherited it. Zhou Yutang, you've gone too far. We're all part of the royal family and you actually sent troops. Some of the big shots in the crowd began to speak. Your son was very arrogant just now, very arrogant. But now your son is worse than a dog. What other capital do you have? Tucking one's tail between one's legs was the hard truth. Zhou Yutang, your son is no longer a warrior. Where does your confidence come from? How shameless. This person's words were very straightforward. Just now your son was boasting shamelessly and didn't put anyone in his eyes. Do you think anyone would help you? He was thinking too much. Zhou Yutang, I'll report to the higher-ups tomorrow to remove your Zhou clan's name. My royal family doesn't need someone like you. The one who spoke seemed to be quite powerful. Zhou Yutang's face alternated between white and green. When his son had just risen, those people didn't dare to say or do anything. Now that his son was in trouble, they instantly turned their backs on him. Zhou Jie struggled to get up. He was unwilling to accept this reality. He pointed at the crowd and shouted, I'm a warrior. You can't do this. Believe it or not, I can destroy all of you in minutes. At this moment, Gao Can laughed out loud and said, Zhou Jie, you have to understand the situation. You are no longer a warrior. You are nothing. You are still the same trash from before. That despicable person. Bullshit, I'm still a warrior. I will still be a martial king in the future. All of you better remember this. I, Zhou Jie, will become a martial king in the near future. When that time comes, I will make you suffer. Zhou Jie roared hoarsely. How could they accept such a sudden change? A few minutes ago, he was still in control of the situation. Everyone looked at him with fear, afraid of offending the future martial king. However, a few minutes later, everything was gone. Although it had only been a few minutes, it had been an earth-shattering change to his life. In actuality, Dong Huangli was also very smart right now. This meant that Yi Hua's teachings were on point. It was easy to kill, but it was very difficult to make others despair. Back then, when Yi Hua besieged Heaven's mansion, Yi Hua had taught Yi Hua that he must first give others hope, then destroy his own hope, and from there reach a state of deep despair. That kind of despair was even more painful than instant death. Right now, looking at Zhou Jie, who was shouting in despair, the corner of Dong Huangli's mouth curved up slightly. What Daddy said is right, this kind of person should be made to feel despair. As long as I cripple him, the people that he offended will once again feel disdain towards him, just like right now. Everyone has the right to punish him. Don't look at how young Dong Huangli is. In actuality, she knows a lot and she is also very smart. Crippling Dong Huangli and killing Dong Huangli are two different outcomes. Although killing Dong Huangli feels great, Dong Huangli would become a little devil. Dong Huangli is an obedient child, and she has never killed anyone. As such, the former were more intelligent. He did not even need to make a move. Their saliva could drown Zhou Jie to death. They were too hateful and too arrogant. The people of the Zhou clan were very flustered. They all looked at their clan leader. Zhou Yutang had no choice but to seek help from his in-laws, hoping that they would put in a good word for his sake. Brother Shi. Before Zhou Yutang could finish his words, Shi Hua said faintly, It's getting late, I will be heading back first. As for the marriage, I think that they are indeed not suitable for each other, so let's just forget about it. Zhou Yutang froze on the spot. The world is so cold. Just now, if not for Zhou Jie possessing the strength of a warrior, how could Shi Hua possibly lower his head and even press his daughter onto the ground to apologize? Also, just now, this little bastard didn't even give me any face at all, so why should I give you any face? Shi Sihan laughed out loud, then pointed at Zhou Jie, who was on the ground, and said, Zhou Jie, If you kneel down and kowtow in front of me right now, I will take you in as my toy. Shi Sihan. I will still say the same thing, you will regret it. Life is full of ups and downs, don't bully a young man because he is poor. When Zhou Jie said this, the whole place was silent. Dong Huangli said, this is really the third time. In an instant, everyone burst into laughter. Zhou Jie, you actually have the face to say such words? You are simply arrogant to the extreme. If it was me, I would have dug a hole in the ground and escaped. Hearing everyone's ridicule, Zhou Jie seemed to have lost a lot of his strength. He sat powerlessly on the ground, and the domineering aura he had a moment ago was nowhere to be seen. If Zhou Jie didn't go and provoke Dong Huangli just now, Dong Huangli wouldn't have looked for trouble and would have just stood at the side and watched how you act cool. But you don't want to live anymore, you insist on seeking death. If Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji were here, how could they allow their daughter to suffer even the slightest bit of grievance? After all, little Ali was Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji's flesh and blood. Zhou Jie, I didn't expect that your talent in making jokes is quite good. In the future, if you don't have any money, you can go and become a clown. Especially your catchphrase, it really makes people laugh. After finished speaking, Shi Sihan left together with her father. Looking at the leaving spaceship, Zhou Jie shouted out loudly, Shi Sihan, you will regret this. When I rise to power again, I will slowly torture you. Dong Huangli reminded, you won't be able to rise to power again, because your spirit root has already been crippled by me. Spirit root has been crippled. Zhou Jie felt as if he was struck by lightning, and his head was buzzing. Everyone knows what it means to have one's spirit root crippled. From now on, I will just be an ordinary person. When the youngsters heard that Zhou Jie's spirit root had been crippled, they immediately felt relieved. Not only the youngsters, even some of the elders felt relieved when they heard that Zhou Jie's spirit root had disappeared. They were a bit worried that Zhou Jie would awaken his spirit root again. If that really happens, I will have to kneel down and lick Zhou Jie's spirit root. But from the looks of it now, there is no need for that anymore. It's good that my spirit root has been crippled. It's good that my spirit root has been crippled. From this, it could be seen that Zhou Jie's position in everyone's heart was no different than a street rat. Why? Why did you do this to me? Zhou Jie questioned Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli was very angry, and yet she still has the face to ask Dong Huangli why. Because you are truly very hateful. Furthermore, you are the worst person that I have ever seen when it comes to acting cool. Even that idiot crown prince is much better than you. At the very least, he is still able to act cool with his brain while you are indeed brainless. Furthermore, you even bully children, you are truly shameless. Dong Huangli's words caused Zhou Jie to feel very uncomfortable. Chapter 456. Once again no one made a sound. They had also expressed their stance. They did not want to get involved in this mess. Who knew what would happen next? To put it bluntly, it was all for the sake of benefits. They would not do anything that did not benefit them. However, they seemed to have forgotten a problem. At this moment, Zhixingyi said in a deep voice, Zhou Jie, I think you're crazy. You're out of your mind. Have you forgotten who crippled you? Yes. Previously, Zhou Jie had the strength of a first-grade martial warrior. For Dong Huangli to be able to cripple him without anyone noticing, it could be seen just how frightening her strength was. Zhou Jie was able to suppress these people as a warrior, let alone Ali. The crowd began to make noises. They all realized that they had to curry favor with this little girl. This was the true future star. Zhou Yutong, I dare you to touch a child today. If you dare to touch a child, we will definitely surround and annihilate you. That's right. He's such a big man, yet he's bullying a child. Shameless. The father and son of the Zhou family were on the verge of collapse. Who was the one bullying who now? It's fine if you don't help the weak, but you even speak up for the murderer. Zhou Yutong said in a deep voice, don't forget that she crippled my son. Fei Bai said in a low voice, that's your son's fault. Who asked him to provoke Ali? Should Ali be bullied by you? Gao Kan, who was in the crowd, shouted, that's right, is your son the only one allowed to bully others? Who do you think you are? This is a world where the strong are respected. They have only crippled your son and not killed him, which is already giving you a lot of face. The crowd immediately echoed in agreement. Dong Huangli let out a breath. These people sure know how to take advantage of the situation. If Dong Huangli was just an ordinary child, she would definitely be bullied to death. Enough. Zhou Jie shouted angrily as he slowly stood up. Following Zhou Jie's angry roar, Everyone quietened down. They had no idea what this person was going to do. Zhou Jie suddenly picked up a small knife and placed it on his neck. Don't you want me dead? Then I'll die in front of you. No one had expected Zhou Jie to do such a thing, threatening to kill himself. But who are you threatening with death? Are you kidding me? Was he trying to gain everyone's sympathy? Zhou Jie, if you dare commit suicide today, I'll kowtow to you every time I see you in the future, Gaokan said loudly. His words were echoed by the younger generation. But here came the problem. He was already dead. How could they meet? This hypothesis doesn't seem to be valid. However, it seemed like no one tried to persuade Zhou Jie. They sighed endlessly. It was really a failure to be a human being to this extent. Alright. You guys are great. I, Zhou Jie, will keep my life for now. I will slowly settle the score with you in the future. After saying that, Zhou Jie tossed away the knife in his hand as if he had accepted the fact. This action really made people speechless. What happened to suicide? He went back on his words. Fei Bai chuckled. You're still as unlikable as ever. Zhixingyi nodded. If he had just committed suicide he would have sighed. Who knew that it was just an act? Zhou Jie cupped his hands at his father and said, Father, don't worry. I won't let you down. Even if I lose my spiritual root, I still have a way. I'll cultivate in seclusion now. Zhou Yutong let out a deep sigh. There are too many unforeseen events that happened tonight, and this old heart of his is a bit unable to take it anymore. Following Zhou Jie's departure, Dong Huangli didn't say anything. After all, I have to give others hope. Because by doing so, despair will seem even more despair. After he finished cultivating in seclusion, he went to look for Zhou Yutong, only to find out that Zhou Yutong was still the same as before. I miss Daddy and Mommy. The outside world is so complicated. Ali is still a child, and I only know how to act coquettishly to Daddy and kiss Mommy. I don't want this kind of life. Big brother Fei, big sister Qingyi, Ali wants to go back. Dong Huangli mumbled. Dong Huangli really wanted to jump into her daddy's embrace and sleep. Zhixingyi carried Dong Huangli and said with a slight smile, All right, big sister will send you home. Zhixingyi's father gave his daughter a look, seemingly wanting his daughter to properly accompany this child and build a good relationship with him. Towards her father's look, Zhixingyi was naturally aware of it. However, she didn't want that to happen. Soon after, she left Zhou family with Fei Bai. A small interlude ended just like that. However, if Dong Huangli wants to become as pretentious as her father, she would have to practice a lot more. After all, it wasn't something that could be achieved in a short period of time. On the other side, Yihua brought along his 2 wives and began to entertain himself. Of course, this was something that happened an hour ago. Shi Tingting respectfully led the way at the front, while Yihua carried his 2 wives and walked at the back. At this moment, they had already arrived at the bar's passageway. This bar was very high-tech, and from time to time, it would change its scenery. Snow, ocean, outer space. However, to the locals, this wasn't a strange sight at all. Seeing that the Empress was a bit worried, Yihua asked faintly, What's wrong? Are you still worried about Ali? And I'm still worried. Dong Huang Baiji mumbled. Yihua was also able to understand Dong Huang Baiji's feelings. As a mother, she would naturally be like this. Don't worry, isn't Ali very powerful right now? Last time she was even able to swing that red giant around. Dong Huang Baiji immediately went into a daze, then asked towards Yihua, How did you know about Ali being in Voidless Realm? Yihua. That crown prince came that day, you couldn't have come as well, right? Qingye asked. I think so. Yihua said hesitantly. Having such a smart wife is also quite troublesome. If I don't pay attention I will be exposed. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji could be seen pinching Yihua's face with a fierce look on their faces. Alright, only the 2 of you would dare to pinch my face. That day weren't you very happy watching us being bullied? Qingye pouted her mouth and had a wronged look on her face. Yihua laughed lightly. Qingye, so it turns out that I only found out about my image in your hearts that day. To be honest, I am getting goosebumps all over my body. The 2 wives rolled their eyes and pinched their husbands. This man is simply a scoundrel. Seeing that his wives are being bullied, he is even laughing at the side. Actually, Ali was the one who secretly informed me that day. Weren't we quarreling with each other? Thus I didn't show up. However, I believe in your strength so I didn't show up. Dong Huang Baiji snorted, You just don't love us anymore. The Empress's coquettish behavior made Yihua unable to bear it anymore. He lowered his head and kissed her. Shi Tingting lowered her head and walked. The relationship between Sir and Madam sure is good, to think that they would kiss each other even while walking. Yihua, Qingya shouted out. However, it was a pity that Qingya and Donghuang Baiji did not have the slightest desire to stretch out their hands. Beauties really have character. It seems that tonight will not be too boring. Sir, I have a game over there. Do you want to participate? You'll be very happy. Si Wenxian sent out an invitation. All right. Yihua immediately agreed. Speaking of which, he often acted tough, but he rarely did it in front of his wives. Today he had to show them that he was not only the jealous king of the cultivation world, but also the supreme king of acting tough. Tonight he was going to shock them and let them know how deep his love was. To be precise, the more he acted, the more he loved them. Seems like I have a goal tonight, which is to move them and make them take the initiative to send me a bed invitation tonight. Shi Tingting, who was at the side, said softly, Sir, they don't come with good intentions. There are many people that came from the main city, and they are also very arrogant. Yihua nodded his head. I hope that they will be arrogant. If not, how would I have an excuse to cause trouble? After all, I am a law-abiding citizen, I never do bad things, and I also don't kill people. I even organized my subordinates to encircle and exterminate the monsters in Long'an City. I should really be given an Outstanding Citizen award. Everyone please follow me. Sven Xian smiled politely, but his hazy expression betrayed him. And Shi Tingting was obviously here to show off. So what if you, Shi Tingting, tied up a martial artist? I am a rank 2 martial warrior, and furthermore I am someone that came from the main city. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji still don't know what Yihua was trying to do. In order to satisfy her husband's desire to act cool, I will shout 666 later on and support her husband. After entering the bar, Yihua discovered the advantage of technology. It is indeed very refreshing. However, the music seems to be more or less the same, all of them are electronic sounds. Seems like music doesn't differentiate between galaxies. The hall downstairs was a place where ordinary people would play, and the rich people would open a floating private room upstairs. Walking into the luxurious floating private room, it was as if walking into the deep sea, and the people that were sitting in the private room felt as if they were sitting at the bottom of the sea. Even when you stretch out your hand and touch the creatures at the bottom of the sea, the creatures at the bottom of the sea would still react as if it was real. This is too mystical. 3 men could be seen sitting in the private room, and the one beside them should be the so-called princess. There were also 5 bodyguards standing around them, just that, the bodyguards were not wearing mechs, and they were all just some mediocre martial artists. However, it is still enough for me to act cool in front of my wife. I hope that they won't be too terrified. I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to play something big tonight. I have to make those small shrimps back off in the face of difficulties, if not, wouldn't I be annoyed to death by them? And when the 3 people in the private room saw Yihua's appearance, when they saw Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, they were immediately captivated. Why are these 2 women so beautiful? It is hard to believe that there are such women in this world. They are so beautiful that there is no bottom line. Adding on that faintly discernible temperament, I really feel as if I have them. No wonder this Sven Xian was late. It turns out that he arranged beautiful women to come over. As for this man, I will think of a way to arrange him later. Hello, I am Dai Anren, who came from the main city. I am from the aristocratic faction. Hello, I am Shui Gao, who came from the main city. I am from the aristocratic faction. Hello, I am Zhao Gang, who came from the main city. I am from the aristocratic faction. The 3 men stood up courteously and stretched out their hands towards Qingya and Donghuang Baiji. There was no other reason, just that they wanted to touch Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's hands. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji ignored them. Let them fly into a rage, then Yihua will have an excuse to act cool. After that, I will just have to look at my husband with my beautiful eyes and satisfy that vanity of Yihua's. Being Yihua's wife is truly tiring, to think that I still have to worry about things like this for him. The 3 of you, it's fine, the 2 ladies are people who already have families. Sven Xian smiled faintly. However, the 2 ladies will not have families later on. The man who had a big bald head was Zhao Gang, and just by looking at him, one could tell that he was a bad guy. If he was placed in a television drama, he would be a henchman, the kind that would die the moment he appeared. So it is the 2 madams, I am truly sorry. Zhao Gang said modestly, appearing to be very polite. Chapter 458. Have a seat, since we are together we are friends. Shui Gao called out, and the drinking partners beside him walked out of the private room. After all, when he saw such a beauty and then looked at the drinking partners beside him, he simply wanted to vomit. Yi Hua hugged onto his wife and sat at the side, quietly waiting. I wonder what's the difference between aliens and humans. What is called a beauty? They are the real beauties, beauties that I have never seen before in my entire life. Just that, being hugged by this man, I really don't feel good. Furthermore, these two beauties are actually snuggling in the man's embrace, seemingly very obedient. This is simply unbelievable. They are so outstanding, they should not be worthy of this kind of man. Shi Tingting sat at the side vigilantly, feeling that something bad is going to happen. And that Si Wenxuan also hugged Feng Ovlan and sat down. The corner of his mouth carried a disdainful smile. Shui Gao, where did your subordinate Lu Qing go? Why didn't he come out with you today? Zhao Gang asked. Shui Gao spread out both of his arms and leaned on the AI sofa, then said faintly, I asked him to go to Shi family to do something. You even sent a rank 1 martial warrior out to do something? You are truly amazing. Zhao Gang laughed lightly. The meaning behind his words was, look at us, even a rank 1 martial warrior can be used. A martial warrior is just a bodyguard. Dai Anren laughed lightly. My family recently hired a martial master from the Imperial City. He is very valiant. Next time when there is a chance, I will bring him out to let you guys experience. Young Master Dai is truly amazing. This little girl admires you. Feng Ovlan said sweetly, her slender hands caressing Si Wenxuan's thigh, hinting crazily. Dai Anren shook his head. The Imperial City is the place where experts gather. This place is filled with martial warriors and martial masters. Without going to the Imperial City, one would not know how big this blue blaze star is. That's right, this Long'an city is also just a small place. Even a martial warrior is able to proclaim himself as a king here. This is truly a pity. Zhao Gang's words were saying, a martial warrior is nothing. You guys have not seen an existence that is even more amazing. More importantly, he was reminding the two beauties that they should look at the long term and not snuggle in the embrace of a martial warrior. That is something that has no future. With your looks, it is even enough to be the president's mistress. Who knows, you guys might even be able to climb up to a martial king, and in the future you guys can enjoy glory, splendor and wealth. Young Master Dai, I heard your family is preparing to move to the imperial capital? Shui Gao indifferently asked. Dai Anren pursed his lips and took a sip of wine. All the clans are trying their best to get into the imperial capital, but the waters of the imperial capital are so deep. If they're not careful, their entire family might be finished. Without sufficient resources, it's really not easy to go to the imperial capital. Young Master Dai going to the imperial capital to mingle? Don't forget us brothers. Si Wenxian picked up his wine cup, the latter clinking it with a smile. That's only natural. Following that, the four of them started to talk about important matters such as who had become rich, who had broken through, how much money they had, how many houses they had demolished, and how much the stock market could fall. In any case, they were not going to buy it. What he was trying to say was, you people from small places don't understand the lives of people like us. I'm telling you to broaden your horizons. Feng Ovlan, on the other hand, was mesmerized by the story. She really envied those who lived in the imperial capital. They could even walk out with pride. And even Yi Hua wanted to leave. You guys have been laying the groundwork for so long, yet you still don't do anything. I, the Supreme Overlord, will go and find someone else. Seeing that my two beloved wives are about to fall asleep, I might as well carry them to the bed to sleep. May I know how I should address Mr.? Shui Gao suddenly asked. Yi Hua immediately became spirited. You guys are finally not boasting anymore. Just call me Boss Yi. Yi Hua said indifferently. Boss Yi? The four of them were a bit stupefied. We are young masters that came from the main city, we have noble bloodlines, our strengths are all martial warriors, and our underlings are all martial warriors. And you actually want a martial warrior to call you boss? May I ask where your courage comes from? Such an arrogant man, I will teach you a lesson later. Trash. For the sake of those two beauties, I will endure it for now. Boss Yi, are you interested in playing a few rounds? Dai Anren asked indifferently. Later on, I will beat you up into a dog and you still call yourself Boss Yi? What are you acting for? Trash. Yi Hua asked indifferently, what are we playing? Si Wenxian laughed lightly. With a wave of his hand, a virtual console appeared. Yi Hua felt that the floating private room was moving. Seems like it is going to another place. Let's bet. Sven Shen smiled. I like to gamble. I hope that you will be able to pay back the money that you owe me on time. If not, Your consequences will be even worse than Xiao Yi's. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, who were originally squinting their eyes, heard what Donghuang Baiji said. My husband is actually going to go and gamble? And when Qingya thought back to that time when she gambled, she felt that it was truly exciting. Very quickly, the hovering private room reached its destination. Suddenly, the private room became transparent, as if they were standing in the air, and beneath their feet was a large arena. A bloody battle was taking place inside. Following the bloody battle, the audience's excitement was ignited, and the entire arena seemed to be on the verge of lifting. In order to make a living, many people would take the risk to participate in the arena. If they won, they could get a large sum of money. If they lost, they would be gone. Moreover, players with a winning streak would gain popularity. They could even make it to the main city's arena in one go. How are we betting? Yihua asked curiously. Who do you want to bet on? Sven Xian asked with a smile. Yihua nodded his head. This is very simple. How big is the bet? Yihua continued asking. Boss Yi, you can bet however big you want. Shui Gao said with a disdainful tone. Yihua smelled the fragrance of Qingya's hair and said faintly, I like to bet on family property. After hearing that, Qingya really wanted to laugh. He's here again. After hearing that, the four went into a daze and soon after they laughed. Isn't this funny? Boss Yi sure knows how to joke. Zhao Gang laughed. People who gamble on family property are usually lunatics. Yihua said in a deep voice, Aren't you all very rich? After saying so much just now, you all still don't dare to bet on this? This is provocation. This is provocation. How can you say no in front of a beauty? Even if you can't, you still have to do it. Boss Yi, since you said that you want to bet on family property, may I know how much family property do you have? Dianren questioned. This man is simply too arrogant to actually boast shamelessly in front of the main city's four big princes, and even said that you want to bet on family property. I'm just afraid that you can't afford to lose. Right now, Yihua definitely did not count on Shi Tingting anymore and decided to take action himself. Yihua took out the trashiest weapon from his storage ring and threw it onto the table. This is my family property. Looking at the broadsword that was emitting a faint green aura on the table, the four big princes were stupefied. Their eyes were opened wide and their mouths were wide open. Shi Tingting cried out in surprise, Mister, this is a cosmos artifact. Chapter 459. I have so many trashy weapons, so I might as well take them out for a gamble. If I took out a slightly better weapon, their hearts might not be able to take it, but even if it was the most trashy weapon, they still seem to be extremely shocked. I like this kind of expression on their faces, it makes me very happy. However, Yihua suddenly felt a pain on his waist. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji looked at Yihua with a resentful gaze, seemingly asking why he didn't let us use such a weapon and instead hid it. Yihua hugged onto his wives. How can you all use such a trashy weapon? It is not worthy of my women. Shi Tingting, how much do you think this flowing lotus blade is worth? Yihua asked. Shi Tingting was astonished, then said fearfully, Mr. Cosmos artifacts are priceless. Right now, the four princes were still in a state of shock. This is a fucking cosmos artifact. I have only heard of it, but I have never seen it before. Even the current martial king doesn't have a cosmos artifact, and it seems like only the president has such a weapon. If I were to win this cosmos artifact, wouldn't I be able to ascend to the heavens in one go? Although this trashy weapon is nothing to Yihua, after all, it came from the hands of an overlord. No matter how trashy a weapon is, it is still a treasure to others. Just like Hong Tai, who was killed by Yihua, the reason why he collected so many ancient godly items and tools was all to forge a primordial godly item. And this flowing lotus blade was a primordial godly item. And it was the most trashy primordial godly item. Yihua let go of his wife's willow branch and looked at the four men in front of him. I will use this blade to gamble all of your belongings. The four men inhaled a mouthful of cold air. They were completely stunned. They didn't dare to say anything and they didn't dare to do anything. The confidence that they had a few minutes ago had long been destroyed by them. Right now, Shi Tingting really didn't know who they were. To actually take out a cosmos artifact so easily, and to even use it to gamble. Even if the four of them took out all of their belongings, they still wouldn't be able to buy a cosmos artifact. Mister's really crazy. The appearance of a cosmos artifact will definitely cause a huge commotion. When the time comes, everyone will come to snatch it and that will be troublesome. Mister is really muddle-headed. As for Feng Lulan, she sat there in a daze the entire time, staring at the universe god weapon on the table. She never thought that there would be a day when she would be so close to a universe god weapon. Boss Yi, let us discuss this with our family. Dai Anren said solemnly and immediately contacted his family. It was the same for the other three. Only by combining the strength of the four clans would they be able to obtain this Cosmos God artifact. Yi Hua waved his hand. You can discuss whatever you want with me. In any case, I, the Supreme Overlord, will definitely win. After a long time, the four young masters of the main city had an answer. Sven Xian said in a deep voice, each of us will pay 50 billion gold coins. That's 200 billion gold coins in total. What do you think, Boss Yi? Yi Hua didn't reply to Shi Tingting's question. Instead, he asked Shi Tingting, is 50 billion worth all that they should have? Shi Tingting furrowed her brows slightly. Although it was a simple question, it was also related to when it came to choosing a side. If she chose the wrong side, then she would face terrible consequences. Should he stand on Mr.'s side, or should he stand on the side of the main city's four young masters? Since Mr. is able to take out a Cosmos God artifact, he is definitely not simple. Since you are gambling your family's fortune, then I, Shi Tingting, can only gamble the fate of my clan. Sir, 50 billion per family is not all of their assets. The assets of each family should be around 150 billion. Shi Tingting's words caused the fourth young master to gnash his teeth fiercely. If I succeed this time, I will definitely kill this woman. Yi Hua held onto the flowing lotus blade that was on the table, and immediately, a green light shone out from the blade. You all are very dishonest. Boss Yi, we can talk things out. Right now, it is late at night and it is a bit difficult to mobilize such a huge amount of funds. Zhao Gang explained hurriedly. Yi Hua didn't pay attention to Zhao Gang and asked Shi Tingting once again, is what he said the truth? Shi Tingting shook her head, if I have the heart to deal with it, I will be able to finish it within 10 minutes or so. Right now, the fourth young master wished that he could eat Shi Tingting's meat, then cut it into pieces and roast the meat to eat. I will give you all 10 minutes. If you all don't want to gamble, then forget it, I will go and find someone else. Boss Yi, wait a moment, I will contact them again. Shui Gao said hurriedly. The fourth young master began contacting their families again. From the tone of their conversation, it could be heard that they were very nervous, and also very much wanted to possess the Cosmos God artifact. 10 minutes later. Boss Yi, the time is too tight. Each of us has 100 billion gold coins, and the remaining 50 billion gold coins will be transferred to us in half an hour. Sven Xian said gravely. 600 billion gold coins? Yi Hua felt that it should be able to be used as the traveling expenses this time. Shi Tingting, go and see if they are lying or not. Yi Hua said. Shi Tingting opened up the system and compared the cards on the table. Mister, there is no mistake. Let's begin then. Yi Hua threw the flowing lotus blade in his hand onto the table, as if he was throwing a fruit knife, causing the fourth young master's heart to ache. At the same time, the fourth young master was also curious, just what kind of person is this man, to actually casually take out a god equipment? This is truly too unbelievable. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it even if I was beaten to death. After all, the rarity of a god equipment was truly shameful. If one were to get hold of a god equipment, one would be able to dominate the entire world. However, after getting hold of the flowing lotus blade, how are we going to split the flowing lotus blade is also a problem. However, this is only the follow-up. A projection could be seen appearing in front of the few people's eyes. This projection was the contestant for the next round. Yi Hua took a glance at the contestants. A dwarf from the elf race and a 3 meters tall minotaur, and the dwarf minotaur was a consecutive champion. This was a one-sided battle. As long as one's brain wasn't damaged, they would bet on the minotaur to win. Therefore, the odds of the minotaur winning was very low, while the odds of the dwarf minotaur winning was as high as 1,000. You guys choose first, I will choose the opponent that you guys are against. Yi Hua said faintly, then held onto his wife's waist with both of his hands and slowly caressed her waist. This is simply the enjoyment of a deity. Meanwhile, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji snuggled into their husband's embrace and quietly watched as their husband acted cool. To them, this was also a kind of enjoyment. Their husband's strength gave them an unlimited sense of security. Needless to say, after the misunderstanding was resolved, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji became even more reliant on Yi Hua. Yi Hua also referred to Lai Gu's experience, not letting the two of them have the time to think about anything else. Especially Donghuang Baiji, she felt so comfortable that she didn't even want to get out of bed. Hearing Yi Hua's words, the fourth young master immediately became happy. The four of them discussed for a bit, then Dianren said with a smile, "Boss Yi, we will choose the beast man. Rodney. I will choose the elf race's Brett then," Yi Hua said faintly. Chapter 460. Boss Yi, since you have made your choice, then don't regret it. Zhao Gang reminded Yi Hua. This bet is already very obvious, we are going to win for sure. Yi Hua said coldly, since I said it, then it won't be fake. I am trustworthy. This sentence caused Qingya and Donghuang Baiji to stretch out their hands and pinch Yi Hua's waist. Do you still have trustworthy? You are a big liar. These two women pinched my waist again. In this entire universe, only you two would dare to do this. Then I wish Boss Yi good luck. Si Wenxian laughed lightly, appearing to be very confident. Yi Hua said indifferently, my good luck will always be with me, there is no need for you to worry about me. Could it be that I am so awesome? So it turns out that I have a cosmos artifact with me. I reckon that the two beauties only followed me because they have their eyes on that cosmos artifact. If the cosmos artifact is gone, the two beauties will definitely look for someone else. And whoever who has a cosmos artifact will definitely be able to obtain the hearts of the beauties. If a beauty like this were to fall into his hands, he would definitely be able to customize a super comfortable waterbed. In the arena, the host's introduction rang out. Next, let's welcome the Tauren who has 5 consecutive victories. Rodney. Along with the host's introduction, the iron gate at the side slowly opened, and a 3 meters tall Tauren could be seen breathing heavily as he slowly walked out. The Tauren was wearing simple chainmail, and his right hand was holding onto an iron axe. The axe was stained with blood, and all of the blood belonged to his opponent. Rodney let out a beast-like howl, raising his aura to the peak. Along with the howl, the blood of the spectators also started boiling. During the day they worked under pressure, and during the night they began to release their natural instincts, thirsting to see a bloody battle. Look at Rodney's strong muscles, that explosive power in his arms, the iron axe in his hand is already unable to endure the thirst. Will he be able to obtain the 6th victory? Next let's welcome the elf. Brett. The iron gate opposite of Rodney opened and a 1m tall dwarf could be seen walking out slowly. His body was wearing a simple white cloth, and his appearance was very delicate and pretty. His big eyes were dark green in color, and his ears were very long and very pointy. He had the characteristics of the elf race and his skin was very fair. In his hand was a wooden bow, and on his back was a quiver that had 5 arrows inserted into it. However, could the iron arrowhead really pierce through the Tauren skin? It was obviously very difficult. The newcomer, Brett, is proficient in archery. Coupled with his petite build, his speed is definitely not bad. Although there is a huge disparity in strength, I believe that Brett will have a good result. Everyone please wait and see. Needless to say, following the host's words, Brett's bets increased once more. After all, the odds were really attractive. If he really won, that would be awesome. The host looked at the bets and was secretly delighted. How could this shorty win? Brett bit his lips tightly, his right hand tightly grasping the bow and arrow. His eyes were a little confused, especially when he looked around at the dense crowd and the cheers in his ears. He was even more at a loss. Oh, Brett. You can't be afraid. Grandpa is still waiting for you to return. You have to use the money you won to treat Grandpa's illness. Otherwise Grandpa would die. Once he thought of his grandfather lying on the sick bed, Brett's gaze became more resolute. If he won this battle, he would receive a reward of 1,000 gold coins, and his grandfather would be able to keep his life. He had to win. Even if he had to risk his life, he had to win. This was life. Yi Hua was sitting in the sky, gambling a few 100 billion gold coins, and some people were indeed risking their lives for the sake of 1,000 gold coins. Whether this was a misfortune or a natural phenomenon, no one could say for sure. Yi Hua, who was sitting in the floating private room, saw Brett through the big screen. That resolute gaze of Brett made Yi Hua recall his weak self in the past. Back then, those days were filled with hardship and danger. Other than training, he also had to hide from humans, hide under dirty swamps, and hide in stinky latrines. Those long days were still fresh in Yi Hua's mind. However, he also kept on telling himself that only by becoming stronger would he not be bullied by others. Only by becoming stronger would he be able to control his own fate. In Yi Hua's heart, working hard would at least give him a trace of hope. If he didn't work hard, he would be a salted fish for his entire life. Even if he managed to change his fate, he would still be a salted fish. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji looked at Brett, who was on the big screen. They couldn't bear to see Brett, but they didn't dare to say it to Yihua, in case Yihua said that they were soft-hearted again. Thus, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji buried their heads into their husband's embrace. Yihua thought to himself, "Little fellow, today is my gamble, you are lucky." In the arena, Brett stared fixedly at Rodney, who was 20 meters away from him. Pulling out an arrow, Brett knocked the arrow onto his bow. Facing such a huge figure, a feeling of powerlessness emerged from the bottom of his feet. Along with the sound of the battle starting, the arena burst into a clamor. "Kill him. Use your axe to chop that shorty to death. Kill, kill, kill. I want to see you tear that shorty's body apart. I want to see you drink that shorty's blood and tear him apart." Hearing those voices, Brett was at a loss. "I didn't offend them at all, why do they want me to die so much?" Rodney let out another roar, then leaned his entire body forward and rushed towards Brett. Facing such a ferocious aura, Brett was scared silly, and he stood on the spot, not knowing what to do anymore. Rodney could be seen leaping high into the air and raising his axe with both hands. If Rodney were to chop down with his axe, Brett would definitely be chopped into two. Rodney could be seen leaping high into the air and raising his axe with both of his hands. If Rodney were to chop down with his axe, Brett would definitely be chopped into two halves. Meanwhile, inside the floating private room, fourth young master was so nervous that he was clenching his fists tightly. Meanwhile, Sven Xian's hand was originally placed on Fonglovland's thigh, and right now, he was so nervous that he was tightly pinching onto Fonglovland's thigh. Meanwhile, Fonglovland was staring fixedly at the screen and had even forgotten to shout out in pain. Shi Tingting also held her breath. "Did I lose just like this? Isn't this a little too fast? That's a universe artifact and it was gone in less than 10 seconds. Yihua appeared to be very calm and he was very confident in Brett. "I, the Supreme Overlord, will cheat? That's impossible. I, the Supreme Overlord, have never cheated before." Although Qingya and Donghuang Baiji didn't intend to watch the battle, but they were women after all and they didn't mean what they said. Both of them were nervously staring at the screen. Right now, Brett was staring blankly at the Minotaur, who was leaping high into the air. Even the blood vessels within the Minotaur's eyes could be seen clearly. Grandfather's pale face appeared in Brett's mind. "I cannot die. I must take the prize money back to treat grandfather's illness." At this crucial moment, Brett rolled to the side. There was a loud bang. The iron axe hacked onto the ground, and half of the axe's blade sank into the ground. From this, it could be seen just how strong the Minotaur was. Chapter 461. The fourth young master, who was in the floating private room, let out a sigh. "Such a good opportunity and I actually missed it just like that." While rolling, Brett's gaze became serious. He quickly pulled the bow and took aim. His movements were rather proficient, but what no one knew was that this was the first time that Brett held a bow. Bio. The arrow drew a beautiful straight line in the air and firmly hit its target. Rodney let out a miserable shriek. The arrow pierced through one of his eyes, and blood immediately flowed out from the arrow, covering his entire face. Brett immediately ran away. He wasn't stupid. Rodney's muscles were as tough as stone. My arrow was completely unable to cause any damage to Rodney. The most effective way to attack is to shoot Rodney's eyes. Facing the sudden counterattack, everyone was a bit stupefied. The situation in front of us isn't real. That is the powerful Tauren Rodney, the champion of 5 consecutive victories. Even a stone man was struck to death by that attack, let alone a dwarf. I definitely underestimated my enemy. I was too careless. Looking at the situation, the fourth young master was already sweating cold sweat. If I really lose, I definitely won't be able to get my money back. Rodney has a universe artifact. How am I supposed to snatch it away? Do I have to use my life to snatch it away? This damn dwarf was just standing there motionlessly just a moment ago. Why did he suddenly move and even blind the Tauren's eye? Could it be that this isn't a game of brute force but a game of technology instead? This is too much of a scam. The organizer is clearly digging a pit for us. Seeing the little elf's counterattack, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji immediately cried out in surprise. How could they not be able to bear it anymore? The person that I chose naturally has his reasons. There is no need for me to cheat at all. I am just that confident. Brett, who was in the field, drew his bow again, aimed and shot. Bio. What Brett needed to do right now was to blind the other eye of the Tauren. Only then would he have a chance of winning, otherwise it would be useless. Rodney immediately let out a roar, pulled out the axe that was stuck in the ground, then turned around. The arrow pierced through Rodney's firm arm and pierced through the skin, but it didn't bleed at all. "I am going to crush you." Rodney went crazy. After pulling out the arrow from his eye, he ran towards Brett without a care for his life. Brett ran away hurriedly. There was no hope for him to fight Rodney head-on. However, every step that the Tauren took was equivalent to Brett running a few steps. The axe once again fell and Brett hurriedly dodged, but Rodney immediately lifted his foot and kicked the petite body. Brett had no other choice but to protect his chest with both hands and withstand the power of this kick. Bang! The kick landed heavily on Brett's arms. Brett's entire body flew out like a cannonball and crashed into the wall. Then he fell to the ground, motionless. The entire place was silent for a moment, then erupted into loud cheers. Rodney did not disappoint them. He killed the shorty with one kick. The fourth young master in the floating room shouted excitedly. They won. Although it was a little scary just now, it was still more daunting than dangerous. As expected of a Tauren, his combat power was extraordinary. Shi Tingting heaved a sigh of relief. Did she lose just like that? Yi Zichen took a look at the Cosmos God equipment on the table. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji didn't care about the Cosmos God equipment on the table at all. They were worriedly looking at the elves on the screen. However, in the eyes of the fourth young master, they were worried that he would lose the Cosmos God equipment. However, Yi Hua was not worried in the slightest. He was as steady as MT Tai and had the posture of a big shot. No one would be able to learn this posture of Yi Hua, and even if they were able to learn it, they would not have that kind of pretentiousness. If it wasn't for Qinya saying that smoking was not good for the fetus, I would have smoked a mouthful of it. Boss Yi, it seems like our luck today is a bit lacking. Dai Anren smiled, indicating that he had let him win. Right now, as long as he chopped off that shorty's head, the owner of this Cosmos Divine equipment would change. Even the owner of these two beauties would change as well. Just when the fourth young master was feeling happy, a white light descended from afar. Shui Gao went into a daze for a moment, then laughed. For someone to break through in this kind of small city, it is truly a miracle. That's true, there are quite a lot of surprises tonight. Zhao Gang followed along and said. However, the white light that they were seeing right now was precisely the white light that Zhou Jia was seeing. In a while they would be able to see another white light soaring into the sky. Within the arena, Rodney dragged his heavy iron axe and walked towards Brett while gasping for breath. "Damn shorty, you actually destroyed my eyes, I'm going to eat you alive." Rodney let out a series of growls and swore that he would have a feast of human flesh tonight. I heard that the flesh of elves is exceptionally sweet. When the spectators saw Rodney walking towards Brett, their eyes were filled with excitement. They really wanted to see the scene of the shorty being torn apart piece by piece. Rodney raised his iron axe and said angrily, "I am going to chop you into pieces and eat you alive." Just when everyone thought that the outcome of the battle was already set, Brett, who was not moving at all, suddenly grabbed onto the sand on the ground and threw it towards Rodney's face. Rodney, who was holding onto his axe with both hands, was unable to block in time, and the sand immediately fell into his eyes. "Little bastard. I'm going to chop you to death." Rodney did not bother to wipe his eyes and directly chopped down onto Brett. Brett hurriedly dodged, and blood was already flowing out from the corner of Brett's mouth. That chop just now was really painful, and right now his entire body was still hurting. Taking advantage of the fact that Rodney was unable to see clearly, Brett hurriedly ran away. Rodney, who was blinded, randomly chopped at Brett as he roared and cursed. Brett stood 10 meters away and drew his bow. His eyes were filled with determination. "I must win." By the accuracy of an arrow at close range was greatly increased. In addition, Rodney was flustered and exasperated. He did not even protect his other eye properly and was shot again. Ah! Rodney, who was completely blinded, let out a miserable roar, and the iron axe in his hands fell to the ground. Seeing this, Brett immediately ran over and grabbed the iron axe with both hands. He used all his strength to drag Rodney away, not letting him pick up the iron axe again. When Rodney reacted and went to pick up the iron axe, he discovered that it was gone. "Damn shorty, if you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. I'm going to trample you to death." The crazed Rodney ran around in fear, using his own head to hit the ground. It was obvious that he had lost his mind. Brett stood in the middle and watched as Rodney ran away in fear. A few minutes later, Rodney no longer had any strength left. He panted heavily, and the blood flowing out of his eyes was shocking. "Little shorty, chop him to death." "Yes, chop off his head." The entire arena was instantly filled with cheers. Killing a little shorty was indeed satisfying, but seeing the champion of 5 consecutive victories die seemed to be even more satisfying. Rodney clearly heard the cheers of the audience and he roared angrily, "I will not lose. I will kill that little shorty." Chapter 462. Brett's height was about the same as the iron axe, and it was very difficult for him to pick up the axe. However, when Brett thought of his grandfather, his small body immediately became filled with power. Carrying the iron axe, Brett spun the axe backwards and aimed at Rodney's leg. The pain from Rodney's leg was transmitted into his brain, and his body immediately fell onto the ground with blood flowing out from his knee. Meanwhile, Brett once again carried the iron axe and stood beside Rodney. Everyone held their breath. This is the counterattack from the elf shorty. He used his wisdom to win the match. In actuality, Brett didn't want to kill Rodney, but the rules are dead. If I don't kill Rodney, I won't be able to get any money and my grandfather will lose his life. Thinking up to here, Brett's heart became firm, and he tightly held onto the iron axe. Ah! Following Brett's shout, the iron axe drew an arc in the air and accurately chopped onto Rodney's neck. Looking at the Minotaur who lost his life in front of him, Brett's entire body became powerless as he sat on the ground and gasped for breath. The pain from his entire body came back again. The audience became quiet for a moment, then immediately burst into cheers. Under the situation where there was a huge disparity in strength, the elf shorty actually completed a perfect counterattack, causing everyone to exclaim in admiration. The MC came back to his senses and announced the result of the match. Congratulations to Brett from the elf race for winning the match. This is a battle of wits, strength isn't absolute, brains are king. The entire arena seemed as if it was going to be turned upside down. Everyone was shouting, and even those who lost money felt that it was worth it. This match looked very satisfying. However, not everyone was willing to lose. For example, the 4 young masters who were currently in the floating private room were currently staring blankly at the screen, while Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had already stood up and celebrated. Although this was just an ordinary match, the elf shorty displayed astonishing talent and defeated his opponent under the situation where there was a huge disparity in strength. Yihua smiled lightly. I, the Supreme Overlord, have never been wrong in judging people, to the point where I won without cheating. Shi Tingting, keep the money? Yihua said faintly. Shi Tingting, who was in a daze, didn't even react to what Yihua said. Only when Yihua reminded her did she realize that she had to keep all of the money. A total of 400 billion gold coins, and my family's total wealth is only 5 billion gold coins. Can be seen how rich the people in the main city are. The 4 young masters were completely dumbfounded. That elf shorty clearly fell to the ground. Why is he still standing up? What? This is impossible. In the distance, another ray of white light shot into the sky from the ground, but the 4th young master was not in the mood to look at it. Boss Yi. Sven Xian said gravely. Yihua picked up the flowing lotus blade that was on the table and said faintly, "What happened?" The 4 young masters didn't Yihua and said, "Yihua. Ye each of you, ye I of you, you I ye I you each." After finished speaking, Yihua kept the knife. Earning money is still rather easy. I wonder what is the exchange rate of gold coins to RMB. Yi, high up. Yi Ching, he thought. The 4 young masters had a gloomy face. I want to snatch the money, but I'm afraid of other people's universe artifact. But I have already lost the money, what should I do? This is 100 billion gold coins. If I don't get this money back, my family will instantly fall and become a third-rate family in the main city. The 4 young masters huddled together and discussed for a while, and they seemed to have reached a consensus. Boss Yi, can you give us another chance? Dianren asked gravely. Upon hearing that, Shi Tingting hurriedly persuaded, Mister, don't agree to their request, there is definitely a conspiracy. Right now, the 4 young masters wished that they could drink Shi Tingting's blood and gnaw on her bones. Yihua didn't care about it, all of the conspiracies and schemes are nothing in my eyes. Speak. Zhao Gang said gravely, fight with us, but you are not allowed to use the universe artifact. If we win, give us the money and the blade, if we lose, give us another 100 billion gold coins. Upon hearing that, Shi Tingting shouted shamelessly, Mister, don't listen to them, they are not able to take out that much money. Furthermore, their request is very excessive. Yihua raised his hand and signaled Shi Tingting to be quiet. Shi Tingting didn't understand. Mister, they are obviously digging a pit for you. Yi Hua didn't answer. Instead, he looked towards his two wives. Qinya, Baiji, do you want to see your husband fight? Qinya and Donghuang Baiji rolled their eyes at their husband. You obviously want to go, yet you still came to ask us. Are you trying to make us the scapegoat? However, since my husband asked, I have to answer. We want to see whatever you do. This answer made Yi Hua very satisfied. As expected of my women, they are becoming more and more sensible. Yi Hua looked at the four young masters coldly. All right. I am happy today, I agree to your request, but we have to fight in the arena below. The four young masters immediately stiffened. If we fight in the arena, we won't stop until one of us dies. I have to discuss this. Mr. Yi, wait a moment. The four young masters stood at the side in disgust. Zhao Gang said faintly, that boss Yi is just a martial artist, we still have a chance. Shui Gaoqiao nodded, that's right, after all, it is four of us against one. There is no need to be afraid of anything. That's right, as long as he doesn't use a universe artifact, we will be able to win. Si Wenxian said gravely. As long as he dies, everything will belong to us. Who knows, there might be even better things. Dai Anren sneered. I want both women and treasures. Feng Lovlan could be seen suddenly walking over and saying lightly, don't you all feel that it is strange? He is just a martial artist, why would he accept the challenge of four martial artists? I feel that it is better for you all to be careful. Si Wenxian gave Feng Lovlan a backhand slap and sent her flying. Stinky woman. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be in such a situation. Idiot woman. Yi Hua and the others looked on silently. Why make things difficult for a woman? And that Feng Lovlan directly fainted from the slap. The four young masters of the main city no longer have a way out. If we go back like this, it will be hard for us to report to our family, and we might even be chased out of the family. Alright, we agree to it. The four of us will fight against you. You cannot use a universe artifact. Zhao Gang warned again. Yi Hua slowly stood up. Alright. Shi Tingting helplessly contacted the organizer, and when the organizer heard that it would be a martial artist against a martial artist, they immediately stopped the competition. This was a big deal. When they found out that it would be 4 against 1, they were completely stunned. Originally, they thought that it would be 1 martial artist against 4 martial artists, but they didn't expect that it would be 1 martial artist against 4 martial artists. Chapter 463. The fourth young master had already left to make preparations. Yi Hua smiled towards his wives. If I die, what will you two do? Company you. Qinya caressed Yi Hua's cheeks and said, Company you. Donghuang Baiji hugged onto Yi Hua and expressed her answer. This caused Yi Hua to smile slightly. Soon after, he hugged onto his wives and said softly, If I really die one day, don't do anything stupid and take good care of the children. The faces of the two wives sunk. Originally, we thought that Yi Hua was just joking, but we didn't expect that he would actually say such words. Yi Hua, if you say such things again in the future, we will ignore you. Qinya said angrily. Yi Hua actually said that he was going to die. You jinx. Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but stretch out her hand and slap onto Yi Hua's lips. She immediately recalled that time when Yi Hua was injured and almost thought that he died. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. I was just joking with you too. The person who is able to kill me has yet to be born. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji gave Yi Hua, this is more like it, expression. Shi Tingting, go and check where that elf from just now lives. Yi Hua wanted to go and meet that Brett, a very interesting elf girl. Shi Tingting was a bit surprised, but she still nodded her head and agreed. She was curious why her husband wanted to look for that child. I reckon that he wants to thank me, after all, I helped her husband win so much money. However, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji didn't think so. They understood their husband very well now, and they knew that he definitely wasn't just going to thank him for something else. Could it be that he has taken a fancy to that elf? Wants to take her in as his disciple? That shouldn't be possible. Yi Hua isn't suited to be a master. Right now in the arena, the spectators couldn't wait any longer. It has already been half an hour, why hasn't the next match started yet? Hurry up and start, I have already finished sucking my chicken rolls. Damn it, why isn't it starting yet? We want to watch beauties fight. The organizer was currently having an intense discussion, and that was the problem of the opening ratio. Just now, the little shorty's performance helped them earn quite a lot of money, and this match was 4 against 1. This was completely a one-sided situation. Even the smartest person wouldn't be able to turn the tables around. The result came out very quickly. The one who bet on fourth young master had the lowest odds in the world, and the one who bet on Yi Hua had the highest odds of 1,000. However, when such a ratio appeared, all the audience and the people in front of the screen were dumbfounded. What surprised them was not the ratio but the people on both sides. The four young masters of the main city against a man. How was this possible? They were the four young masters of the main city. They had the strength of warriors. However, watching them fight was a kind of enjoyment. The scene immediately caused an uproar. Four samurai against one martial artist. It was obviously a one-sided battle. This was not like the previous battle where they were all ordinary people. The disparity in strength and numbers was too great. Everyone felt that the person called Yi Hua didn't have any chance of winning, and this kind of ratio could be casually bought. It was a sure win. Moreover, this kind of news had spread like wildfire. It seemed that the four young masters of main cities were quite famous. All of the surrounding cities were paying attention to this competition, and even the tycoons of main cities were paying attention to it. They were all prepared to win some money. In a small house somewhere, a young man and a young woman were also watching the match. "Wife, this battle will definitely be fourth young master's victory. Let's bet everything we have. We will definitely be able to earn a small sum of money. And I also feel that fourth young master will definitely win. This is practically giving away money. We will bet everything. The money used to buy a car, the money used to book a hotel, the money used for the wedding, we will bet everything on it. Alright, after we win the money, we will go to another planet for our honeymoon. Hubby is the best." This kind of thing happened in various places. Although the payout ratio was indeed low, if one invested a large sum of money, one would still be able to win quite a bit of money. This was a match that would definitely be won. When the organizers saw the money that was rolling in, they were all dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the matter would develop so quickly. A lot of the money came from the surrounding cities, and even the people from the imperial city were betting. However, it was impossible to close the bet. It was not time yet, and these were all controlled by the rules. Furthermore, this was all an official match. Would the officials be afraid that they would not be able to afford it? From 10 billion, to 100 billion, and then to 1 trillion. This was the first time that they had seen this kind of match. Even if it was 0.001, it would still not be a small sum of money. Seems like the payout ratio is still too high. Manager. Not good. Just now an account bet 400 billion on Yi Hua. An employee suddenly ran over and shouted. What? 400 billion? The manager was immediately dumbfounded. 400 billion? If Yi Hua were to make a comeback like just now, how much money would he lose if that happened? 400 billion? When 400 billion appeared under Yi Hua's profile picture, a lot of people were astonished. Which tycoon is playing like this? He simply doesn't take money seriously at all. This is too savage. However, for such a big federation, it was still possible for them to afford it. The only problem was whether or not they wanted to pay. As for who was the one who bet so much money, it was naturally Qinya and Donghuang Baiji. Our husband's appearance fee should be more or less enough, right? Donghuang Baiji teased while holding onto a glass of fruit wine. Qinya shook her head. This idea was suggested by Baiji. This idea is really as bad as Yi Hua. The two of you are simply trying to snatch away all of other people's money. Qinya said with a slight smile. Donghuang Baiji snorted. Who asked them to bet such a high ratio on Yi Hua? Let them reap what they sowed. What if they don't return the money? Let's go and check the accounts. Donghuang Baiji's eyebrows twitched mischievously. Qinya felt that this idea wasn't bad and revealed out a mischievous smile. Yi Hua has successfully led his two wives astray. Shi Tingting, who was sitting at the back, was very stupefied when she heard the conversation between the madams. The money that I just won is going to be used to gamble again. Why does your family like to gamble so much? After half an hour of betting, the bets were finally closed. The total amount of money that the four young masters had bet on Yi Hua had reached 2,312. 1 billion, while Yi Hua's side only had 400 billion. The difference between the two's bets could be said to be very big. The MC's hand that was holding onto the microphone was trembling. If I were to advertise this battle, I reckon that it would not only be this amount of money, it would be even more. Everyone's sorry for the long wait. The next battle will be the highlight of tonight's show. Even if I don't say it, everyone knows who they are. Sven Xian from the main city. Dianren. Zhao Gang. High water. The iron gate below slowly rose, and the fourth young master walked out from the gate. His expression wasn't very relaxed, instead it was very serious. This battle can only be won, it cannot be lost. Look at the heroic bearing of the main city's 4 young masters. That handsome face of theirs is so attractive. However, do not be deceived by their beauty, they even possess the strength of a rank 2 martial warrior. Chapter 464. Fourth young master, I want to give birth to a bear for you. A bear woman shrieked. Fourth young master, I can help you change your gender. Fourth young master, I am easy to raise, you just need to feed me. A pighead girl said sweetly. The host continued, next let's welcome the opponent. Yihua. The iron gate slowly rose, and Yihua's figure slowly walked out with a cigarette in his mouth. His eyes were slightly squinted, and his hands were placed behind his back, looking like he was taking a stroll in his backyard. Seems like today is going to be a battle between 2 handsome men. This contestant Yihua seems to be very calm and relaxed. Everyone, let's wait and see if there is any secret hidden in this match. In the floating private room, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were like 2 little fangirls. Yihua, do your best, Yihua, do your best, and on the stage Yihua seemed to have heard their cheers as he blew a kiss towards them. So handsome, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were both mesmerized by Yihua. My husband is just so handsome, just so awesome, there is no reasoning with him. Yihua, who was standing on the stage, thought, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji finally got to see me acting cool. This is also the first time they have seen me acting cool, right? Just that, this stage is a bit small and boring. This isn't my style and it doesn't even reach my level of acting cool. Following the start of the match, the entire stage became silent. They were waiting to see this handsome man get torn apart by the 4th young master and celebrate their winnings. Just that, some girls couldn't bear to see this. How nice would it be to have such a handsome man as my toy boy, but he is actually going to die soon. Yihua threw away the cigarette in his mouth, then used his shiny black leather shoes to extinguish the cigarette to prevent it from starting a fire. Recently, I have been training my physical body. After all, I have to share my 2 wives equally, and it won't do if I don't have a strong physique. After all, the Empress's resistance is getting stronger and stronger, and she is about to become autistic. Qinya darling is also pregnant, so she doesn't feel good asking for too much. If I knew that their physical bodies are very strong, and I only have an ordinary physical body, how could I possibly win against them? After training for the past few days, I feel that my physical body is gradually becoming stronger. It's not that I'm cheating, it's that I'm too strong. To be able to die in my hands is also your fortune. After all, I never kill salted fish. The 4 young masters of the main city began to disperse and stand in 4 different directions of Yihua. What they wanted was a victory, so they showed their strength without holding back. Beat him. I can get my money back. He would be able to get his hands on a Cosmos God weapon, and he would be able to snatch a woman. There were simply too many benefits. This person had to die. 4 voices rang out at the same time, and the aura of a 2nd-grade martial warrior erupted from their bodies. Waves of earth-shattering spiritual chi swept through the entire arena. In the face of this kind of battle, the organizers had activated their protective energy to prevent ordinary people from getting hurt. The immense spiritual pressure continued to rise, and cracks appeared on the ground of the arena. Thick blood vessels were exposed on the surface of the skin, and all the bones in the body crackled like beans, emitting an aura of supremacy in the world. The pupils of the 4 young masters shrunk, and a powerful killing intent emerged and immediately attacked towards Yihua. The 4 young masters were like a sharp arrow that was charging up. 4 different directions, 4 fists, the air was like a pot of boiling water, surging and roaring. A punch from a martial warrior was very rarely seen, especially in this kind of small city. However, right now, everyone was looking at a punch from a martial warrior. The might of this punch even caused the sky to become angry, and rumbling sounds could be heard. On the other hand, the man in the middle did not move at all, his expression did not even have any change, giving off a feeling as if he was waiting for death. However, only the 4 young masters who were attacking Yihua were able to clearly see that Yihua's eyes were like a bottomless abyss, flickering with an eerie light. Yihua's eyes were like a stranger that had killed his way out from hell. Even though Yihua was just standing there quietly, Yihua was still giving off an unlimited amount of pressure. Die! Dai Anren shouted out, cheering himself on. Yihua slightly looked towards Dai Anren, who was attacking towards him. You all don't know anything about my strength. When Dai Anren came into contact with Yihua's gaze, his entire body went numb. And Yihua moved. This kind of movement was something that no one was able to see. Yihua's speed had reached a kind of abnormal degree. Yihua clenched his right hand into a fist and punched towards Si Wenxian's head. Soon after, Yihua immediately jumped to the front of Shui Gao, raised his right leg high up into the air, and fiercely gave a side kick. Yihua once again moved at high speed and kicked onto Si Wenxian's face. Soon after, Yihua punched onto Zhao Gang's head. After that, Yihua returned back to his original position. However, in the eyes of others, Yihua's movements did not even take 0.01 seconds. When half a second passed, the 4 people who were jumping high up into the air actually exploded in the air. All 4 heads exploded, and the headless corpses fell heavily onto the ground. The headless corpses only stopped after sliding for a few meters. The whole place was dead silent. Even if an embroidery needle fell to the ground, it would be heard clearly. Looking at the corpses that were scattered all around, no one was able to accept this fact. Just a moment ago they were clearly so imposing, why did their heads explode in the air? Meanwhile, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, who were in the floating private room, had already started hugging each other to celebrate. My husband's speed is indeed very fast, and in other aspects he is even more comfortable. No one at the scene cheered for Yihua. All of them had yet to recover from their shock. Everything happened too quickly. There wasn't any technique involved at all, and Yihua was able to instantly kill his opponents. However, in their hearts, this shouldn't be the end result. The organizer immediately played the video that was played just now, and after checking the video frame by frame, they finally found out that something was fishy. Looking at Yihua, who was playing on the video, the staff fell into a daze. This is the video that was played at the slowest speed, and I was only able to capture a little bit of the video. Just how fast is this speed? This kind of video was played very quickly. After the audience saw the video, they felt that their hearts couldn't take it anymore. This is too fast. This is too fast. This man who is this terrifying is the formidable one. He instantly killed the 4 young masters of the main city. Although this is the arena, I will still suffer from revenge. Right now, there were a lot of people walking towards the rooftop, and there were even people queuing up at the places where there were a lot of people. Just now, there were a lot of people who were gambling their family fortune, and when the 4 young masters became 4 corpses, they were in despair. There were also a lot of rich people who were instantly stupefied. Although it wasn't to the extent of going bankrupt, but that was still a huge amount of mobile funds. How are we going to fill up such a huge amount of mobile funds? Isn't this the same as forcing people to jump off a building? Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up. To be honest, I didn't enjoy the fun of the battle at all, it was because I was too weak. Yihua looked towards the MC coldly, still not announcing the result. The MC's entire body immediately turned cold, and while trembling with fear, he held onto the microphone. I announced, the winner of this battle is Yihua. Although the MC had already announced the result, no one at the scene was able to become excited, and they revealed a gaze of fear as they looked at the man who was in the arena. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.